Good evening. It is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 at 5:39, and we are calling this regular meeting of the Wake County Board of Education to order. All of our board members here with Vice Chair Haggerty being virtual today, and I want to welcome those of you that are watching at home and those that are here in person in the boardroom to observe as the Wake County Board of Education conducts its official business. I do want to take a moment to highlight Board Policy 2310, which states persons who willfully interrupt, disrupt, or cause disturbances at an official meeting may be directed to leave by the presiding officer. Members of the audience should show respect for speakers by refraining from loud comments or other disruptions. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in accordance with General Statute 143-318.17. And you may hear some excitement buzzing about as we have many of our wonderful Magnet School personnel here today. If you could please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. With that, we'll move on to our information items, starting with our superintendent's comments. Superintendent Moore.
Good evening. Congratulations to Gabriella Bella Burwell, a junior at Knightdale High, who is now a finalist in the 2022 National Poetry Out Loud competition. Bella, who had already won at the state level, competed with 54 other students from across the United States representing their state or territory in a virtual event. Bella's recitation of her poem placed her in the top 9 students in the nation. She will now compete for the national title and a $20,000 prize on June 5th. Poetry Out Loud is a national arts education program that encourages the study of great poetry by offering free educational materials and a dynamic recitation competition for high school students across the country. This program helps students master public speaking skills, build self-confidence, and learn about literary history and contemporary life. In the WCPSS, we do prioritize and prize our arts education programs. We know that arts have a positive impact on school engagement, college aspirations, and the development of 4C skills. And over the years, our teachers have nurtured and inspired many talented artists like Bella. You can watch her compete on June 5th at 7 p.m. by visiting arts.gov/poetry-out-loud. Put that information up. Our young students learn phonics through Letterland, which features friendly characters called Letterlanders, from Annie Apple to Zigzag Zebra. Every spring, we invite young learners and their families to meet their favorite Letterlanders in real life. This year, characters can be found at various locations all over the city of Raleigh throughout the month of May. Students can meet the characters and complete fun activities. All locations and activities can be found at wcpss.net/Letterland. Many thanks to our sponsors, the City of Raleigh, Sinclair Broadcast Group, Letterland International, and Wake Up and Read for supporting this annual celebration of literacy and learning. Finally, this evening, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, a time for students, families, communities to express their gratitude for our amazing educators. You can see tributes on social media and post your own under the hashtag WCPSS Thank a Teacher. I also had the opportunity to sit down for a conversation with 3 outstanding teachers. We talked about the various challenges they have faced over the past 2 years, how they were able to overcome them, and how teachers can take the lessons we've learned in the last couple of years to be even more effective in the classroom. The teachers I spoke with are Carson Lamb, a special education teacher at Apex High School, Christopher McCormick, a CTE teacher at Dillard Drive Magnet Middle, and Keisha McNeil, a 5th grade teacher at Fox Road Magnet Elementary. Take a look at this clip from this conversation and look for more videos on social media this week.
It's Teacher Appreciation Week, one of the greatest weeks of the year. And I'm here today to show my appreciation for teachers. I think that teacher voice is incredibly important. And what better way to show appreciation for teachers by letting them talk to us about their highs, their lows, their passion for teaching and students. We're back in schools, we've got new tools, we're rededicating, sort of reframing what learning looks like for kids as we move forward. What do you hope for yourself for the future? What are your expectations? What are your areas?
Without the will to continue and make changes and build upon the things that we did in the past and add to those, we wouldn't have come out as strong as we did. And so passing that along to my students, that you can persevere through anything, I think that right there will speak volumes to them.
Everything is constantly changing, so I think staying relevant and keeping the kids' interest is what's most important to be able to, even for us to be able to stick in the game.
My expectation for the future is to continue the relationships and the way that we are creating these relationships within the school, and showing our students that we're here for you and you're here for us. We are a community working together, and continuing with that mindset.
I want to thank you for all that you do every day for our students in the classroom. We know that because of the work that you do, because of the dedication that you have, because of the perseverance that you just talked about, that anything is possible.
So as a quick reminder, hashtag WCPSS, thank a teacher. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore. And I had the pleasure of serving with a group of folks throughout the district to do our Teacher of the Year interviews. It was incredibly humbling and insightful to hear from our best of the best in the district. And I'm looking forward to our Teacher of the Year celebration coming up on the 11th at the Convention Center. We had a great inner-city visit with the Raleigh Chamber, appreciated them putting a spotlight on education, hearing from their state superintendent, as well as representatives from their community college system and their university system, and seeing chambers of commerce come out and support our teachers last week and this week as we go forward. And I'm going to keep my comments short because I know we have school folks waiting. So Vice Chair Haggerty.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey, and my apologies to everyone for not being there today. I'll just say, let me be a cautionary tale that sometimes when the person next to you says it's only allergies, it's better to be safe than sorry. I wanted to, again, wish everybody else a happy Teacher Appreciation Week. We're really excited about all the activities this week. It is also, excuse me, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans make up about 10% of our school families in Wake County, and a much higher percentage out in my area of the county. And I know there's a lot of exciting events planned through this month, and I hope you'll pay attention to those. I want to wish a happy Eid Mubarak to those out there celebrating that holiday as well. Some great news in our schools since the last time we came together. Pleasant Grove Elementary, I want to put a quick spotlight on them for raising over almost $26,000 for the American Heart Association as part of the annual Kids Heart Challenge. That's a tremendous charitable gesture that they were able to make, and starting early with those kids at an early age, caring about their community. I know that Ms. Carter was able to attend our Gifts of Gold event, so I'll let her talk about that one. I was sorry that I was unable to attend that one, but that was a fantastic event. We also have, we were able to attend the ribbon cutting for York Elementary. The York kids have been back in the building for a while now, but it was great to actually have the formal event, bring everybody out and really celebrate an important school that's an important part of the community out there. And I want to thank everyone who was able to attend, and for the York PTA and all the York staff for hosting it. Finally, as Ms. Mahaffey noted, we've had several events recently with the Raleigh Chamber, the Cary Chamber of Commerce, and tomorrow the Morrisville Chamber of Commerce is having a great event. As we go to all of these chamber events, it's really fascinating. You get to meet so many diverse people, all with different backgrounds, all with different opinions, but everyone working together with the goal of a better community. And the one thing that I'm taking away from all these events is that we see, whether it's Cary, Raleigh, Morrisville, anywhere in Wake County, through these chamber events, how much our community values public education. And everyone at these events continue to tell me when they find out I'm on the Board of Education that great schools are one of the most important selling points for Wake County. So thanks to our chambers of commerce and everything they do promoting us, and thanks for keeping us as a partner. Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey.
All right, thank you. Ms. Scott?
I'm going to hold my remarks this evening because I'm excited to celebrate our amazing folks. And happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
All right, thank you. Dr. Martin?
I'll too add my happy Teacher Appreciation Week, and looking forward to budget discussions, because the way we really appreciate teachers is by actually compensating and not just saying thank you. And I know that the superintendent's budget has made a real effort to do that, and we'll need to keep working with our commissioner colleagues to try to make that happen. I want to give a huge shout out to the PTA of Yates Mill Elementary. They put together an amazing work day last Saturday. We were pulling weeds, folks were pressure washing, a local business nursery connected with a parent, brought a lot of plantations. So kids were painting their Foursquare units. It really was a great day. An amazing time for community building, to have lots of people. You can actually see the transformation of how the school looks, but it also reminds me how important that is to frankly help sustain our buildings. Pressure washing saves corrosion. Good landscaping saves erosion. And so working together with them clearly pointed out some things that we need to work on, and I will continue to advocate for that. But the parent team did an amazing job. It was a really great day. And I know it's news that people don't like to hear, but I do need to continue to give the COVID update. Things are not going in the right direction right now. The county's cases are up to, as of last night, the most recent data is 227 weekly cases per 100,000 population. That's more than twice what we used to call high transmission. That's up 124 times. So it's 124% of what it was a week ago. So climbing and climbing fast. Probably the more concerning news is the Wake County Public Schools cases increased by 207% last week. So basically the cases that we're seeing in Wake County schools are increasing at about twice the rate of what's happening in the general community. That is a concern that we need to be taking into consideration very, very carefully. I can't give you the current age disaggregated data because the state no longer reports the current week. You can only go a week back. A week back, the highest cases were among the 18 to 20-year-olds, which was at 270 cases per 100,000 population. The 25 to 49-year-olds were at 206. But given what we're seeing in the Wake County schools, which is current data, I believe we're going to get back to seeing the school cases exceeding the community cases in the next week or two. Specifically, our staff cases has jumped like crazy. Our staff cases are now about 1/3 of what they were at the peak of the January spike. We had 108 staff cases last week. Now, if you figure that we have roughly 20,000 staff, that means our staff infection rate is 540 cases per 100,000 population. So be careful. Things are going up, and we're seeing significant transmission in our schools, higher than in the general community. If we don't want to have forced interventions, then as a community, we better get to work at working together to keep this spread from getting worse, because it's not going in the right direction right now. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kushner.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey. And I do feel a need to address some of the comments and public statements that have been made over the last few weeks and months concerning some of the books in Wake County libraries. I've read Out of Darkness, George, and Lawn Boy, and I would urge anyone criticizing these books to please read them in their entirety and understand their full context. George is a book about a fourth grader, a play based on Charlotte's Web, and gender identity. And I understand that gender identity makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but there's no explicit language in this book, and it can create understanding and empathy for students. So please allow children a choice and families a choice with that book. Lawn Boy does have explicit language, but the bulk of that book is about entrepreneurship, self-reliance, and overcoming trauma, including sexual trauma. Again, it's a book not on any curriculum. It's a book available for choice for students, and I think in the proper, with families working with their students to understand, it can create empathy and understanding. The group We Are is a group that was also, there were false statements made about this group. It is has a proven track record of helping educators and community members fight racism. I've attended their events. I've followed their work. Dr. Rhonda Bullock is a strong voice in our community, and their work is neither radical nor is it offensive. It is anti-racist. And in this 21st century, when we see racism rising among young people, we cannot be neutral. We must all, in my opinion, choose to be anti-racist. We cannot be neutral. It should be alarming to everyone in this room that racism is on the rise among young people. And so I would hope that you will not be colorblind to racism. And while I have worked to be anti-racist, I've not always succeeded. But I am not giving up, and I will not allow speakers to misrepresent the work of our teachers and staff at Millbrook High School. I appreciate Ms. Clash's statements at the last board meeting and lift those up again, because I think the educators at Millbrook are working hard to make every student feel welcomed, included, and seen in their school. So thank you to those educators at Millbrook and to Ms. Cash and my colleagues for supporting that work. Public education, well, thank you, but public education is a public good. It is for all children in every school and also for all in our society. So let our children learn. I truly think we need to start treating our schools with much greater care and compassion, understanding, and really embrace empathy for all of our students. So moving to other work, to other news, I wanted to thank the Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce for the great inter-city trip to Salt Lake City, Utah. It again showed the strength of our schools in comparison with other schools, which I always enjoy underscoring with our business community. And great conversations lifted up the work with the 4 C's, collaboration, creativity. I always have to try to remember them all, critical thinking, and communication, because those are the skills that are going to support our community and our economy. And thanks again to Wake Ed Partnership. STEMposium yesterday was a wonderful way to showcase our students' work and their commitment to STEM, and another great partnership with our community. I'm just so grateful for the business community and others working hard to partner with Wake County schools and give our students more opportunities. And I just wanted to highlight there were 2 Wake County public school graduates that were highlighted at each of these meetings. The CEO of Solido.net, which offers high-speed internet, fiber internet to the Triangle. Their CEO, Sharat Nagaraj, is a NGLO graduate at the STEMposium yesterday. The Chief Technology Officer for Wolfspeed, which used to be Cree. He is a proud Olds, Daniels, and Broughton graduate, go Caps, and he was really had an inspiring talk to our students to really encourage them to get into STEM and STEAM. So they're just two examples of Wake County graduates and who are products of our schools and are truly contributing to our economy. So thank you, Madam Chair, I'll end my comments there.
Thank you, Ms. Kushner. Ms. Johnson-Hostler.
Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey, and thank you, Ms. Kushner, for making sure that we bring to light all the concerns that we aren't able. And just a reminder, during public comment, we do not respond back to our constituents who are at the podium, and so this is our opportunity to make those comments, and you so eloquently address the importance of those, Ms. Kushner. And I will certainly start with thank you for reading all the books. I think we were on the phone one day when you were checking them out at the library, so thank you very much. But I also want to note that May is Mental Health Month. And one of the things that we have not done in all of this conversation is make the connection to the things that have been said to and about our school district. They are absolutely connected to the mental health and well-being of our students, our families, and our educators alike. Somebody asked while we were on the inner city trip of, why do you run for school board and how tough is it? And I tell people every day that I thought I had thick skin until I sat at this table. And then I also was reminded that everything, even though they are not speaking directly to me, it feels personal because my commitment to this school district is personal. And that's exactly what I would say for our educators, our students, and our families, that everything people say, while it may be a broad brush stroke, it definitely impacts our folks and their mental health. To Dr. Martin's point, we've put forth our best foot in terms of a budget to ensure that we are able to address the pay inequity. By the way, for educators are primarily female, so if we think about the impact, there are greater reasons for us to look at the work that we do and how it impacts not just the mental health of the folks in this room, but the folks who are listening to us and how information, and especially misinformation, spreads and the impact it has on our mental health. So a reminder to the great work of Wake County Public Schools and the offerings that we offer to our students and our families for mental health services, and to our educators. As many of you know, we don't often take care of ourselves when we are helping others, and so this is just another reminder that we did often throughout COVID, is to remind folks that mental health options are available, and we do hope to start to normalize that by talking about it from the board table. And I know Mr. Haggerty has also done a great job of talking about the importance of mental health from the board table. So May is Mental Health Month, and it's acknowledged by NAMI, and so hopefully we will continue to have the conversation of the impact of our words and the impact that it has on our lives. A great segue to that is many of us attended the Boys and Girls Club luncheon, which was a reminder, listening to those students, of the impact of being seen and heard by their educators and in their building. Oftentimes people say, why are we doing this at schools? And I actually had a few educators ask me last week, why is all this put on the school system? We have so much work to do. We're tasked with testing, and the answer truly, truly is because that might be the only place many of our students have someone who is the trusting adult in their life. And we all know that relationships matter. And so while the burden is heavy, the rewards are great. And listening to those students and what the impact of Boys and Girls Club had connected to, and many of those are connected to our schools, which I didn't know, some of you, my colleagues may have known, that some of our elementaries, like Washington Elementary, keeps their Boys and Girls Club attached to their school, so those students still return there even once they're older, and one of them was a graduate. So again, thank you to our partners for ensuring that our students are being taken care of, both mentally and also academically through the work that they're doing. I would be remiss if I did not mention Wake Up and Read. You all know how much I've enjoyed going to schools to read directly with our students. And we had our celebration, yet another reminder of the great work and partnership of our community, but also a reminder for me in that room that those are educators who are responsible for making sure I'm able to come into the building to read with students. So they're still tasked with their job and also ensuring that a partnership like Wake Up and Read, Partners Read, is able to happen in our schools. And so again, they were graciously welcomed and supported with much gratitude from Wake Ed Partnership. But again, I think it's important that we note, and again, a reminder, everyone please sign up next year to read. I told you all, the game changer for me is a student who sat with me literally all year and did not read until the last 2 weeks that I read with her on a Friday. If you need to be reminded why this is personal, that is a reason why this is personal. Because the game changer is one child at a time, and our educators in the room know that. So again, thank you to our partners. The last partner I want to thank is Activate Good and Ms. Cash, who's sitting to my left. Many of you know I have schools in my district who don't have active PTAs. And Ms. Cash came to me and said I could choose one and then she said I could choose 2. And we ended up with now 5 schools in both of our districts where Activate Good is doing a project called Elevate, spelt with love, schools. So for those schools who don't have PTAs, who can organize yard cleanings or paintings, where literally the principal at one of my schools was doing all the painting herself and knew what every paint color was, in addition to all of her other duties. Activate Good yesterday, well, actually 2 weeks ago, started with the kits for our students. And so the kids were excited. They had little pouches that they could put their laptops in that were given by the schools. And yesterday I got the opportunity to be at one of our schools where we clapped all of our educators. And I mean, every single person in that building was acknowledged. And so that's my last note for those of us who still are doing teacher appreciation. Remember, your CNS workers and all your non-instructional staff in the building also deserve the same appreciation. Thank you.
Ms. Cash.
Thank you for that. Monique and I have spoken a little bit about this. This has been a great project. It was something that I approached A.J. Fletcher about, and they were excited to give some seed money. We have PTAs in Wake County that don't, and Ms. Kushner is part of this group that we've talked about this in the past, where we don't have PTAs. Like, not all PTAs can have a giant PTA membership. And so A.J. Fletcher gave some seed money to Activate Good, and we're picking 5 schools each year for the next 3 years, and they're going to partner with them. And they have done some really great things. In this Teacher Appreciation Week, there's going to be a lot of things going on in these 5 schools with partners in the community. And Lenovo's been a great partner. They did these great kits. They also did something called a project, if they could get 30 kids or more to write what is a kind city look like, which all 5 schools did. They got a $2,000 check for their PTA in that school, which is a big deal in schools that don't have PTAs. So I hope in my future life, if I have more, I'll get to continue to work with PTAs that don't really have a strong foundation, and we can continue to do that. So, and Monica has a couple schools. We're going to move into Eastern Wake. Ms. Scott and I are going to work on a couple ones, and it's going to be fun. So it's fun to see kids and teachers get things that they deserve, and that principals don't have to use their own money to make that happen, which our principals do all the time. I'm going to say teachers and principals put a lot of money into their schools, so I thank them for that. We did have a back meeting on Monday, the 25th, and Lloyd Gardner came, and we did input for our strategic plan, and we had a lot of good conversation. I was not sure, but he did a great job, which I knew he would. I wasn't sure about that. I was definitely sure he would do a great job, but I was the activity. Everybody was really excited into putting input into the strategic plan. So we had a long meeting, and we had a lot of input. I went to a musical at Wakefield, Emma. I mean, these kids are contagious. They are hilarious on stage and talented, and you go all the time. And I'm going to go to more and more and more of them, because I was so happy when I left there, and I need that happiness. We don't always get that. So I had so much fun. I did miss the one play, the musical Matilda, that was at Millbrook High School, so I'm sorry I missed that. I was going to go on Thursday night, and I had to go out of town for a wedding and had to go early because I had a job at the wedding. And but I missed Dana King that night. She was at Matilda with her grandson that night, which brings me to, and I don't believe we read this proclamation, have we, from the city. The city of Raleigh, Dana King, long served principal at Millbrook High School, and beloved, and a legacy, and Millbrook community. We lost her suddenly, and have not quite recovered from that at all. But in the process of this, she had a great retirement celebration on the Monday prior to her passing on Saturday, which was very unexpected. And she was going to retire on April 29th, and we had planned a Proclamation Day, the Dana King Day. And so I want to read the proclamation that the City of Raleigh issued for Dana King. And it says, whereas the faculty and staff of Millbrook High School believe that excellence in education is vital to the success of its students and community, and whereas Principal Dana King has 36 years of service to the Wake County Public School System, serving 19 years as principal of Millbrook High School, and prior to that, principal of East Millbrook Middle School, assistant principal of Athens Drive High School, and English teacher at Sanderson High School. And whereas, in addition to the day-to-day duties of the job, Principal King has served on the Board of Community and Schools, NCHSAA, the Advisory Committee for the Regional Wake County Social Services, Mental Health, as High School Principal Director of the Wake County Public School System Division of Principals and Vice Principals. And whereas during her time at Millbrook High School, Principal King has created an environment that has produced elite academic achievements, championship athletics, and unique programming. And whereas the Millbrook High School community is celebrating Dana King today on April 29th for the many ways she has made a difference through her dedication to students and the professional educational community, and serves as an inspiration to all. And whereas the City of Raleigh, North Carolina, applauds her service and calls educators, volunteers, and individuals to engage our young people and work together to create a brighter and more hopeful future for all of our children. Now, therefore, Mary Ann Baldwin, Mayor of the City of Raleigh of North Carolina, has proclaimed April 29th, 2022 in the City of Raleigh as Principal Dana King Day. So we now have a Dana King Day, and I celebrate that. April 29th would have been her last day at Millbrook High School as the principal, but she lives on there forever, so I wanted to read the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cash. That's very sweet and a wonderful way to remember her contributions to this community. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Carter.
Thank you, and that's kind of hard to come after, but thank you for sharing that, Ms. Cash. And I'll try to transition. I enjoyed attending Davis Drive Elementary. They had an Earth Day celebration where you could plant seeds. So they had some plants and some artwork displayed, and also an option to pick up trash, which is what I chose to do. Had some interesting items that I found along the campus grounds, or on the campus grounds, but I'll leave it at that. But just really want to say thank you to all the staff who came out and helped organize that, and the parent and family volunteers for coming out, and the students who came out, and community members. And then back at Green Hope Elementary for Beautification Day, they're really focused on the frog pond, and we kind of joked about renaming it. I'll get to that in a minute, but we were pulling up weeds, moving compost and mulch, and the students planted almost 200 sunflower seeds that day. But while we were pulling up weeds, we were down there, and then a mama duck notified us that by the frog pond, and the plants growing by the frog pond, there was a duck nest, and she was sitting on her duck nest with 8 eggs. So it was a really neat opportunity to talk to the students about, we got to stay back from that. We don't, but she watched us, kept. So we tried to work as fast as we can, but we had a lot of work done, but she came right back. But again, thank you for everyone who organized that and for coming out and supporting that event. And I did attend the Arts Night featuring Gifts of Gold at Crabtree Valley Mall. I always enjoy the arts and athletics. Y'all know I just love doing anything there. So it was wonderful to see all the artwork, not only on the big screen there that was projected, but they had some displayed in a storefront. And Ligon Middle School choir was there, and they did a magnificent job singing. I couldn't imagine at that age in that environment, but they did an awesome job. And I want to say congratulations for doing so well, students and performers, and also music director, Miss Dunbar. It was well done. And Then I was back outside. Salem Middle School had an Apex community night, and their student council president actually reached out and invited me, and met with him there, talked with him about all of his work on getting this put together, and it was just a great event. The Salem Middle School Jazz Band kicked it off, and I say they had it hopping. I'll just leave it here. The last song they played was Hawaiian 5-0, the Hawaii 5-0 theme song. I mean, those kids, it was a magnificent event. Not just that, but I kind of, go back to that. So well done, performers and all those who helped organize it. And the band director, Mr. Henson, I forgot, they also had an amazing race that night. So it was it was a lot of work into that, so well done. The following night, I was at Cary High's Green Tie Gala, and bear with me because this was a big one. And I just have a hard time because I love going to events, but once I see a student in a Little Shop of Horror and I see that role that they're in, and then I see them standing before me in a tux or like the long flowy gown and the pearls, I'm going back to, but wait, you're like that dentist that was like, and so, but I go to that because, at this event, you walk in and the art is displayed all in the lobby, just wonderful work. And then you go in, it's kicked off by the Navy Junior ROTC by presenting the colors. Then you have the chorus, the jazz ensemble, the Green Eggs and Jam, the orchestra, the concert band and orchestra, theater, and the symphonic band and wind ensemble. And they did it. They threw in Little Shop of Horror in their tux. All of a sudden, they start doing pieces of that with everything else, and they threw in some improv. So if you've not been to Improv Night, they're having another one May 13th. I really encourage you to check it out. So for me, I was like, oh, guys, so many of them do so many different roles, and it's just fascinating to see, be able to turn it on and off, and just their talent is just amazing. So I want to congratulate everyone who performed and all the artists who had work in the lobby, and all the instructors and directors. I'm going to list them. Mr. Yasik, the choral director, Mrs. Colbreth, the orchestra director, Mr. Foster, the band director, Mrs. McCormick, the theater director, and Miss Phillips, she's a theater student teacher, and Miss Moran, the art instructor, and Mr. White, the art instructor. It was just a fabulous night that I could just go on and on about. But anyway, so then I also attended East Cary Middle School's Shrek the Musical Junior. Fabulous job, singing, the dancing, even threw in some tap dancing. Everything was just well done. Just shout out to the cast, crew, and director Miss Bridges for another job well done. And so I mention all that because, as you can see, a lot of art events, and I've said it again, I know, but I'll do it again. I just cannot speak enough highly of the importance of arts in all of our schools and how important they are not only to our students, but also our community and families. And just thank you to everyone who support these, and also athletics too, because I'm on that side too. But anyway, I also had a back meeting as well, and I want to thank Miss Gaddis over there for all her work, for the tech side of it, the registration, and Dr. Gardner, Dr. McMillan, and Dr. Malik for presenting information about the strategic plan and gathering input. And I too, the folks really liked the tool that was being used online, not only being able to provide feedback, but also rate other people's feedback, which is a nice feature, I think, to have. So thank you all for all of that. And I know, thank you to all the teachers, Teacher Appreciation Week. I know all of the folks that are in our schools, or not necessarily in our schools, but touch our kids' lives every single day, and you might not even know it. But you have just such a role that's so powerful that you can literally change the direction of some students' lives, and you may not even know it until they come back and tell you later on. So I appreciate all you all do. I know Mental Health Awareness Month was mentioned. I also wanted to mention that it's Foster Care Awareness Month because, and it kind of goes, you might not know what students are bringing with them when they come in our schools. Right before I actually graduated from Meredith, I was a therapeutic foster care social worker. I did that as an internship, and I did that for 3 years. And I just say that because even back then I was working with Wake County, even though y'all didn't know. But, you have teenagers who been in 10, 11 homes, and they're coming to you, and you're thinking, oh, they won't do their schoolwork, or they are doing their schoolwork, and you have no idea what they're having to overcome. And I just want to say, if you are in foster care, been in foster care, you matter, and you can speak up. That was something I know we speak about here, but having that role and having a voice, it is your life. So I just wanted to take a brief moment. I know it's not necessarily school, but it does impact our students and families. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Ms. Waters.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey. And as we celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week, I feel an immense sense of gratitude for being in this seat because of teachers in this very district who nurtured me and encouraged me, and so I'm extremely grateful. And having been a student in this district and then now being a mom of students in the district, I know how much teachers give, how much they care, and how much they pour into our children. And so just so excited to be able to recognize the hard work of teachers this week and throughout the year, so very grateful for that. And speaking of teachers, I had a wonderful opportunity to get to see some of our kindergarten teachers at Conn Elementary as they had kindergarten orientation yesterday. And they had an amazing group of kindergarten teachers. And I am the parent of a future kindergartner, so I was definitely looking at their work. But just to see their energy, their excitement, and their passion as they are preparing students to come into, for many of them, their first school setting. So thank you to Conn Elementary kindergarten team for all that you do, and look forward to coming back to see all of your students again very soon. And then also in District 4, River Oaks Middle School, which is a school that is very close to my house. I passed lots of times but didn't know a lot about, and just wanted to say this is an amazing school that you may not have on your radar. So if you are looking at middle schools, be sure to look at River Oaks. It is a wonderful place. If you have a student who maybe needs a different environment, there's a lot of creative energy there. They have a wonderful principal, Principal Blake, who's been in place, I believe, since November, and who has already just done so much to change the culture. In fact, when I went to the school, they were celebrating her work, and they had written lots of wonderful messages on the wall there. And I said, kids are honest, so everything that's up here is true. And so many wonderful things said about her in just the short time that she's been in that role. So really looking forward to see her greater impact in the district. And also felt really special visiting the Wake Early College Health and Science. I used to work at the Wake Tech campus where this college is housed, at both campuses where this high school is housed. And so just being able to have our students exposed to so many learning opportunities and to prepare them for career success is just amazing. So our district has some wonderful opportunities, and I appreciated the fact that they go to great lengths to really encourage and nurture our students, particularly those that are going to be first-generation college students. I think that is wonderful. And also loved seeing the diversity of the students. The students were so passionate as I visited their classrooms. They were able to really articulate the work that they were doing, really engage, and so just really encouraging to see those students. And then one other school visit at Hunter Elementary School for their 95th birthday celebration. And so saw Ms. Scott there as well. And so just always wonderful to see our communities gather and to celebrate the diversity that we see and all of our families coming together. So lots of wonderful things going on in District 4 as well as in all of the districts. And want to thank Ms. Johnson-Hostler for welcoming District 4 to join the upcoming BAC meeting that we'll have next week on May 12th at 6 o'clock. And so just a wonderful chance to be in community and really sharing the work that we do. And I'm very new to being a part of this board, but immensely grateful for the work that you all have done and didn't realize how much you give of yourselves, how much you sacrifice. And so just a great sense of gratitude for all that you have done as I'm coming into this work. Just really knew my appreciation level for the work that you all do has grown immensely. So thankful to be a part of the work that you do, and thankful to be a part of a district that nurtured me and helped me to achieve a lot of my dreams and a lot of my goals. So thank you so much.
And Ms. Waters, you have jumped in with both feet, hit the ground running, and certainly embraced this role. And we thank you for putting your heart and soul into this. And I think Ms. Johnson-Hostler kind of touched on what that role means to so many of us here at this table, and we appreciate you being a part of it. Before we get to the celebrations, we do have one formal piece, which is approving the meeting agenda. So if I could get a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the agenda as listed.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, we are moving on to recognize some of our great schools and school leaders and principals. And Dr. Lane, if you will kick off the celebration.
Thank you. Is this on? Good evening, Superintendent Moore and board members. I'm really excited to be here tonight to recognize our magnet and our early college high schools that were recognized at the 2022 Magnet Schools of America National Conference in Clark County, Nevada. We brought some of that excitement with us, if you could hear them in the doorway. So I think, Ms. Cash, you said you wanted some happiness, so I brought you some happiness tonight. The conference was held April the 19th through the 22nd, and we recognized Magnet Schools of Excellence, schools of distinction, our certified and demonstration schools, and will recognize tonight our Magnet Schools of America Region 4 Principal of the Year and Region 4 Teacher of the Year. So at this time, I would ask Superintendent Moore if she would join me up front to present certificates and to our awardees. I do want to make a note as she's coming up that one of the things I heard you say about the visits to other places is that we did have the opportunity to visit schools in Clark County, Nevada. And the team, many of the Magnet folks and the Magnet team were texting me saying, we already do that. We do that in Wake County. We do that. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to say that we are a model for our nation when it comes to the way that we use Magnet programs. And I think Glenn Carrozza is running the slide deck for me from his office, I hope. But usually I like to start with the Magnet principles. So I do want to remind everyone that we recognize these awards that meet our own Wake County Public School System Magnet principles of reducing high concentrations of poverty, promoting diversity through school integration, maximizing use of school facilities, and providing innovative and expanded educational opportunities. The Magnet Schools of America Principal of the Year Award annually recognizes an outstanding school leader who has succeeded and provided innovative programs that promote equity, diversity, and academic excellence for for students in Magnet schools. Region 4 consists of Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. And I was honored to serve as Magnet Schools of America Region 4 Director for the last 4 years. So it is with great pride that our Region 4 Principal of the Year come from our own Wake County. So congratulations to Abby Stotzenberg for the MSA Region 4 Principal of the Year, and I'll let Superintendent Moore present the plaque. Abby earned this recognition while she was principal at Vernon Malone College and Career Academy, and she is now our proud principal of Wake Early College of Information and Biotechnology. So congratulations, Abby. The Teacher of the Year Award annually recognizes an outstanding, dedicated full-time teacher who exemplifies excellence in academic achievement and executes innovative programs that promote equity and diversity for students in magnet schools. He inspires students of all backgrounds and abilities to learn. And again, we are very excited that this year's Region 4 Teacher of the Year winner came from Wake County Public Schools. So please join me in congratulating Brentwood Magnet Elementary's engineering teacher, Greg Iman, as Region 4 winner. During MSA's national conference, it is a common practice that the host district give out 10 student scholarships. During the pandemic, Magnet Schools of America expanded the scope of the scholarships and to include not only the host district, so Clark County, Nevada did award 10 scholarships in their district, but also to award 10 national scholarships. The awards are of $1,000 and are made to the college or the university of the student's choosing. This year, Wake County Public School System has 2 national scholarship winners. And before I announce the winners, I want to thank our own team members, Tila George East and Josh Hunter in our office, who spearheaded this effort and worked very closely with these students to get their essays and all their requirements uploaded to a challenging technical system. So, and I would love for the principals to join their students and certainly their parents if they are here too. So this year's first winner is Erica Rice. Erica is from Southeast Raleigh University Connection School of Design, Arts, and Engineering, Magnet High School. Principal, Mr. Eddie Harden. She doesn't get the check herself, so we don't have a check to give to her, but she will receive the scholarship to the school of her choosing. Congratulations, Erica. Our second award winner is Hadil Adamali from Wake Early College of Health and Sciences, and Principal Ms. Lisa Cummins, and I think she does have family with her as well. So congratulations, Hadil. Yes. Is that right? Yes. All right. NC State. Congratulations. Thank you. So again, congratulations to our student scholarship winners. Very excited for them. Magnet Schools of America Merit Awards recognize magnet schools that demonstrate an exemplary commitment to academic standards, curriculum innovation, desegregation and diversity efforts, and have specialized teaching staffs and engage in parent and community involvement. With over 4,300 magnet schools in the country, it is an honor to have 47 of our magnet schools being recognized tonight. So before I call the names of awards of excellence, I do want to give a shout out to our own Dr. Lisa Thompson from the Magnet Office, whose leadership through the years has contributed greatly to this work. She works directly with our magnet coordinators and their staff at the school and the principals to help them be prepared to write a merit award, but also in finding the information needed. We do data tables. They require student academic scores, not student individual, but schools scores. So we really do appreciate all the work that she does to contribute to this. I'd also like to share that normally our Excellence and Distinction Award winners would be receiving a plaque from Superintendent Moore tonight. They will get a plaque. They're mailed, so they will receive them in 2 weeks. So in lieu of that, we decided that we would give them 2 honorariums tonight, and that is a certificate and a rose. And we're honoring the magnet principal and the magnet coordinator, so they get to decide who gets the rose and who gets the certificate. I do want to say thank you to all the hard work of our educators. It is Teacher Appreciation, and a huge appreciation to our magnet schools and the work that they do in terms of marketing and recruitment, in terms of really lifting up the district in so many ways. So thank you for your hard work. I know you all have been waiting about an hour to be recognized, so we really appreciate your patience. At this time, I will individually call up each of our 9 schools of excellence to receive their merit award recognitions from Superintendent Moore. First is Broughton Global Studies and Language Immersion International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, Magnet High School. Try saying that when you answer the phone in the front office. Sophie Flynn will be receiving Broughton's award tonight, so congratulations. Dr. Elena Aspirin is principal, and Dr. David Brooks is the magnet coordinator. So congratulations to Broughton. I thought I saw Dr. Aspirin. She is here. There she is. Our next winner is Conn Magnet Elementary School of Entrepreneurial Design. Gabriel Chedester is our principal. Congratulations. Thank you. Our next is East Gardner International Baccalaureate, MYP, Creative Arts Magnet Middle School, Jimmy Posado is principal, and Joanne Edwards, magnet coordinator. You get the rose and the certificate. Fox International Baccalaureate, PYP, Magnet Elementary School, Jacqueline Williams, principal, and Martha Hayes, magnet coordinator. Hunter Gifted and Talented, AIG Basics, Magnet Elementary School. Shane Barham, principal, and Jenny Johnson, magnet coordinator. You too get the rose and the certificate. Congratulations. Kingswood Montessori Magnet Elementary School. Sherry, and I'm probably going to mess up the name, but I'm going to try really hard. Sherlisser? Nope, close. Slicer, principal, and Michelle Geisner, magnet coordinator. Sorry, I tried. I even have the pronunciation in my book.
You know, you got a pronunciation guide, right?
Congratulations. Martin Gifted and Talented Magnet Middle School. Marla Bedora, principal, and Claudia DeLazio, magnet coordinator. I told my team, you wouldn't believe it, but when I was assistant principal at the high school, I had to read all the names at graduation, and nothing makes me more nervous than getting the name wrong. So, Millbrook International Baccalaureate, Middle Years and Diploma Program, Magnet High School. Dana King, principal, and Lauren Barron, magnet coordinator. Dr. Brian Saunders, who is new to Millbrook as of this week, will be accepting the award. Reedy Creek Magnet Middle School for the Digital Sciences, Trent Evans, principal, and Christine Sachs, magnet coordinator. Okay. AP coming in his place, so we appreciate our APs too. So let's give a big round of applause to all of our schools of excellence. At this time, I am going to ask Dr. Lisa Thompson to come up and read or share with you, recognize our magnet schools of distinction.
Hello, everyone. I am pleased to be able to announce the Magnet Schools of America Awards of Distinction. A.B. Combs Leadership Magnet Elementary School Principal Julie Sexton, Tracy Tuthrow, Coordinator, and accepting with Julie Sexton is Adam Barnes. Athens Drive Center for Medical Sciences and Global Health Initiatives, Magnet High School. And we have Steve Mayers as principal and Tanya Hinton, coordinator. Brentwood Magnet Elementary School of Engineering, Principal Melissa McKinley, and Coordinator Kristen McBride. Brooks Museum Magnet Elementary School, Principal Marie Palmer, and Nicole Schwartz, Magnet Program Coordinator. Bug Magnet Elementary Center for Design and Computer Science, Principal Anise Williams. Carnage Gifted and Talented AIG Basics Magnet Middle School, Principal Pam Johnson. Carroll Leadership in Technology Magnet Middle School, Principal Tina Zarzecki, and Coordinator Julie Klein. And with her today, Brendan Fetters. Douglas Creative Arts and Science Magnet Elementary School, Principal Tiffany Faison Bullock. Hi, so good to see you again. East Millbrook Academy of Visual and Performing Arts, Magnet Middle School, Erin Marson, Principal, and Joanna Caves, Coordinator. Enloe Gifted and Talented International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, Magnet High School, Jackie Jordan, Principal, and Heelan Davis, Coordinator. Farmington Woods International Baccalaureate PYP, Magnet Elementary School, and we have Elizabeth Plotkin accepting, and Carter on behalf of Miss Winston Pierce. Thank you for accepting this. Fuller Gifted and Talented AIG Basics Magnet Elementary School, Principal Kendra Culberson, and Laura Thanos, Coordinator. Garner International Baccalaureate Middle Years and Diploma Program, Magnet High School. Who do we have representing? John Williams is the interim currently, and John Sherwin, Gerald Simmering, and Amy Bennett are the coordinators at that school. Green Leadership and World Languages, Magnet Elementary School, Leslie Blake, Principal, Tricia Seymour, Coordinator. Hodge Road, Spanish Dual Language Immersion Magnet Elementary School, Felicia Dorsey and Alan Arrowwood. Jeffreys Grove Spanish Language Immersion Magnet Elementary School, Maria Ventura, Principal, and Joanna Gonzalez, Coordinator. Joyner Center for Spanish Language IBPYP Magnet Elementary School, and Jennifer Zeza is principal, and Cheryl Davis Jackson is coordinator. Lincoln Heights Environmental Connections Magnet Elementary School, Scott Gayton principal, and Brittany Jennings coordinator. Millbrook Environmental Connections Magnet Elementary School, James Aldridge principal, Randy Jones coordinator. Moore Square Gifted and Talented AIG Basics Magnet Middle School, Leslie Taylor principal, Lauren Shepard coordinator. Guys, they're so color coordinated. You look lovely. North Wake College and Career Academy, Elizabeth Battle principal, and Sherilyn Murray coordinator. Oberlin Global Studies and Language Immersion Magnet Middle School, Brianna Pelton, principal, and Chris Hayner, coordinator. Poe Gifted and Talented AIG Basics Magnet Elementary School, Christy Story, principal, Alexis Lisenby, coordinator. Powell Center for Play and Ingenuity Magnet Elementary School, Curtis Brower principal, and Chris Lawrence coordinator. Stow Mandarin Language Immersion Magnet Elementary School, Christopher Cox principal, Stacy Shoemake coordinator. Underwood Gifted and Talented Magnet Elementary School, Travis Schillings principal, Ashley Cooper coordinator. Vernon Malone College and Career Academy, Carter Hillman principal, Jill Oliver coordinator. Wake Early College of Health and Sciences, Lisa Cummings principal, and Robin McAlexander coordinator. Wake STEM Early College High School, Drew Ware, principal, and Sophia Overdeep, coordinator. Wake Young Women's Leadership Academy, Carla Jernigan Baker, principal, and Angela Cox, coordinator. Washington Gifted and Talented Magnet Elementary School, Katie Burnett, principal, and Amy Wilkinson, coordinator. Wendell Creative Arts and Science, Magnet Elementary School, Everett Johnson, interim, and Megan Cornegay, coordinator. West Millbrook International Baccalaureate MYP, Magnet Middle School, Kelly Amon, principal, and Jessica Collins, coordinator. Wiley International Studies, Magnet Elementary School, Tracy Avery, principal, and Claire Sullivan, coordinator. Zebulon Gifted and Talented Magnet Elementary School, David Newkirk, principal, Lori Johnson, coordinator. And last but certainly not least, Zebulon Gifted and Talented Magnet Middle School, Candace Jones, principal, Whitney Reynolds, coordinator. Now we're moving into our next phase of celebrations. Josh Hunter, I welcome you to the podium.
All right, I'm here to recognize our MSA certified and demonstration schools. Certified in 2020, Fuller Magnet Elementary School.
I think she's running back around.
And Zebulon GT Magnet Middle School. And our demonstration schools in 2020, Reedy Creek Magnet Middle School, Center for the Digital Sciences. And Verna Malone College and Career Academy. And recertified in 2021 is Wiley Magnet Elementary School. And demonstration in 2021, Douglas Magnet Elementary School. And Centennial Campus Magnet Middle School.
we did save the best for last. Finally, it is my honor to celebrate with you and with this community that the National Magnet Schools of America Superintendent of the Year Award went to our own. Leadership, commitment, and involvement are three descriptors that capture the essence of the qualities Magnet Schools America seek in a candidate for the MSA Superintendent of the Year. I think we all know, yet it bears repeating, Superintendent Moore has shown steadfast leadership, especially through the many challenges and stretches the pandemic has provided the educational system, and specifically here in Wake County Public School System. For her commitment to students, staff, families, and the broader community, as well as her involvement that manifests itself whether she's reading to students, rooting for them at a sporting event, or wiping cafeteria tables. Superintendent Kathy Moore, it gives me great honor to recognize you as Magnet Schools of America National Superintendent of the Year for 2022. Congratulations. Thank you. We appreciate the time. I know that was a lot, but thank you for celebrating.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. And can we give all of our magnet schools, our scholarship-winning students, and our superintendent a round of applause again? First of all, we have excellent, fantastic schools in Wake County. If that is your base school, or if you choose to go to a magnet school, your calendar application school, one of our early colleges, and I think what we just saw today, and I think our board members knew that this was going to be a lot, so we intentionally stayed sitting for the duration because we could have easily given a standing ovation to each and every one of these principals, these magnet coordinators, and these students because they're phenomenal. Their recruitment efforts to make sure that we follow the principles of the magnet schools, as well as choice with a purpose and our own guiding principles within Wake County, I think is just a testament to all of the excellent educators that we have throughout the district. And certainly always wonderful to see the work that they do, as well as to see their work be recognized, because I think during Teacher Appreciation Week, it's an apt time to say that that recognition isn't necessarily felt every day, but it is something that we continually believe on this board is something that needs to be imbued every day, that we recognize each teacher, regardless of the school you're at, is here for our students and making sure that they are doing their best. These celebrations do not end there. And I am going to pass it over to our superintendent for our next two awards that come out of our technology department. Superintendent Moore.
Good evening again. It gives me great pleasure, after a slight delay, to invite Rob Dietrich from North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. He is the State Director for Digital Teaching and Learning, to present this next award.
Good evening, Superintendent Moore and board members. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'm going to follow with the theme, if that's okay, of sharing the joy, because it seems to be going quite well tonight. So as part of that, I am here today to celebrate the achievement of Marlo Gaddis, your Chief Technology Officer. At the NC TIES conference this year, she was awarded the 2022 North Carolina Technology Director of the Year Award. This award was created to recognize the hard work of technology directors across the state, and as part of this process, her peers recognize the efforts that she has done to enhance digital teaching and learning here in Wake County. Being a technology director is tough. These are folks that when things are going well, very few calls, right? And then when it's not going well, they want you to fix it before they called you. And it has changed drastically over the last 2 years. Previous to the pandemic, you had strategic plans, you had an idea of rolling these things out, and then the pandemic hit, and we went from face-to-face to emergency remote learning overnight. And over the course of the past 2 years, Ms. Gaddis has done an outstanding job guiding this district through all that, deploying student devices, teacher devices, making sure students had hotspots to get connected to the instruction and give them the best possible learning experience they could under the circumstances. Also, she understands the importance of not only the technology piece, but the instruction piece and how to marry those two things together to make sure that they truly are getting that experience that they deserve no matter what environment that they're in. This is something that we at the Department of Public Instruction recognize. It is something that her peers across the state recognize, as well as folks across the nation recognize. So with that, I present to Ms. Gaddis to let you know the North Carolina 2022 North Carolina Technology Director of the Year Award, which is, I am so honored to be here to give to her today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. Then we'll leave Marlo up there for the next award.
Yeah, I'm just switching trophies is all I'm doing right now. So I'm going to ask my leadership to come up. We have some of us here. We generally don't like to be seen out in public, so that's generally what happens. Good evening, Chair Mahaffey, school board members, and Superintendent Moore. While I am honored and grateful to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and Mr. Dietrich for my award, no one person does this work alone. I'm extremely proud of our Technology Services Division, as we were recently honored with the 2022 Consortium for School Networking, COSN, District Team Leadership Award. The award recognizes the district leadership team for its transformative impact in leveraging technology to improve learning opportunities and access for all students. The award also emphasizes the consortium's belief that district leadership teams are crucial to digital transformation. Our Technology Services Division has supported teaching and learning in the past years through tight collaboration with the Academic Advancement and Magnet divisions. We've also supported our students and families through our technology help desk and online resources, and we expanded our hours and now offer Spanish support on all of our call lines. Through these collaborations, we were able to build professional learning resources, adopt new technology, facilitate the planning and implementation of the virtual academy with our friends, including the building of curriculum courses within Canvas and the deployment and support of those courses in all schools. Our technology services team also partnered with finance and HR to support hiring and adjust payroll to reflect increases. Many people don't know that we're the ones who help with that. Health services to build our health screening and vaccination proof apps, and facilities to outfit our new schools with technology and library materials. Through partnerships with local companies like Apple, SAS, and Microsoft, students have been able to participate in programming activities like Hour of Code and Code and Go, and make curricular connections to expand their knowledge in innovative technologies. The fun part of this award, our fun part of this award, was that we received a $5,000 gift certificate to Donors Shoes, which we spent to grant the wishes of several WCPSS teachers last week. We also received a $2,000 honorarium that will go to Tools for Schools, which is our Wake Ed Partnership teacher store. Though many were not able to attend the meeting today, I know many are watching on streaming, but I'm very, very proud of this team and very thankful. I have 4 of the leadership team up here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, make them talk in front of the mic for just a minute. They're going to hate me for that. Go on, Kathy, come on.
Hi, I'm Kathy White. I'm Director for Inventory Management. My team was very instrumental with getting student devices out and hotspots and that kind of thing, and we were happy to do it.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Kistongway, Senior Director of Technology Resource Management. I have the pleasure of working with Kathy White, also our Contract Administrator, Keith Cooper, and our E-rate administrator, along with the support services, the help desk, and I am very pleased to say that they have helped support the Spanish-speaking families that we have in the district. So, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Walter White. I'm the Senior Director of Enterprise Architecture. I have the honor of working with this wonderful team just to keep it all moving and to build things, and it's an exciting opportunity. And thank you so much.
And last, Eric Hoth, Information Security Officer, just trying to keep our data and our students safe. Thank you.
So we just thank you for the honor of letting me be able to honor them as well as me. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, and certainly a huge lift from our technology team over the past few years, and just thank you for the continual work, being a one-to-one device school, making sure that our devices are safe and secure, and making sure that our students and families are aware of how to be safe online as well as in their email. We now move on to public comment. Public comment is accepted in video, written, and in-person formats. Members of the public are welcome to offer comments or criticism directed at substantive ideas, actions, or procedures of the board and individual board members. In the interest of maintaining civility and decorum, however, speakers are encouraged to refrain from personal attacks and insults directed at the board, individual board members, staff, or members of the general public. I'm also going to refer to earlier where we said, please allow speakers to speak for their 3 minutes, whether you agree or disagree with what is being said. That is a person's right to speak to us for those 3 minutes. So please, the laws and policies of North Carolina provide that issues or concerns involving individual personnel matters are confidential and therefore not appropriate for public comment settings. Concerns related to personnel issues may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Speakers, including students, may discuss issues and matters of general concern, but should refrain from discussing confidential student information. Concerns related to confidential student matters may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, and other applicable policies. Our written public comments for today, which are part of the meeting agenda, which can be found at the school district's website, wcpss.net, under the tab labeled School Board. We have 13 written comments and 1 video comment. Those topics include class rank, books, Durant Elementary, as well as public comment, budget, and thank you. During public comment, for those of you that are here in person, you may speak for up to 3 minutes. A yellow light will illuminate at the podium when there are 30 seconds remaining in your time, and a red light will signal when your time is up. Please remain at the podium during your speaking time. Any materials you wish to share with the board should be handed to the board attorney, Mr. Blumberg, right over here, either before or after your comments. Thank you again for coming and speaking with us today. Our first speaker is Tucker Willenborg.
Our class ranks are a serious problem. They are harmful, they are inaccurate, and they do not comply with North Carolina statute, specifically Chapter 116, Article 1, Section 11, Subsection 10A, which requires class rank to be calculated according to a method devised by the institutions of higher education. How do we fix the issue? There are multiple options that I'll summarize briefly. All of these options can be implemented on a school-by-school or county-wide basis. The best option is to remove class rank entirely. Removing class rank is very easy. Delete the current class rank records and do not rerun class ranks. A similar approach is already used by several charter schools in the state. If for some reason the board wishes to offer members of the class of 2023 the option to report class ranks, there are methods used by other states, including class rank certificates that could be uploaded by counselors for college applications. The next best option is Latin honors tiered numeric ranks. This option complies with Grad 009 and is based on weighted GPA, aligning with the current WCPSS recognition tiers. Under this option, all students with weighted GPAs of 4.25 and above would be tied with the rank of 1. Those between 4.0 and 4.25 would be tied. Those below 3.75 would be tied. This option does not lower the rank of any student and will help ensure that no student is harmed by class rank. It can also be implemented in PowerSchool with a few button clicks and one line of code. Details for this option were delivered to the board on April 24th. Alternatively, Wake County could use a PowerSchool custom template to create a Wake County transcript based off the NC standard transcript. This transcript could be uploaded to Common App and scholarship applications by counselors, with NC standard transcripts sent to UNC system colleges through CFNC. While this option does not remedy class ranks in-state, it does have the advantage of giving Wake County complete control over the transcripts that are printed and could be implemented on a student-by-student basis if necessary. On a smaller scale, the Wake County transcript could be avoided by manually or automatically removing class rank from the NC transcript before counselors upload it into Common App, with unmodified transcripts sent to state schools if necessary. All of these methods, removing class rank entirely, using tiered numeric ranks, or using separate transcripts in Common App, will prevent class rank from harming students' admissions and scholarship opportunities. There are numerous ways to solve class rank, but it's imperative that this board move forward with at least one. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Susan Book.
Greetings, board. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I'm here to thank our teachers here in public and more. I believe in a well-paid, well-resourced, well-professionally developed teaching force in Wake County schools. I believe we aren't quite there yet. I believe many sitting before me have the power to make our teachers' working conditions a little better. One thing in this volatile climate that we need to protect as we think of teacher appreciation is the freedom to teach. We need to preserve our teachers' ability and freedom to teach the truth. We should not take this right for granted. As a district, we can support our teachers by giving them culturally appropriate curriculum and books, professional development that gives them the opportunity to learn more about their students and how to support their needs. We should continue to support the freedom to teach the truth of our history, all history. By centering only white history, we exclude. Our history is colorful in any way you define the word. It is messy, but with so many lessons applicable to the world around us. When teachers feel supported, their lesson plans are inclusive. Inclusion is one of my favorite words. Teachers need the freedom to inspire the entire class and not just the few. Give our teachers the freedom to teach about Black folks. Support teachers who support their students, all students, the trans, the bi, and the gay students too. I think each and every educator here, whether they are a teacher or an instructional assistant in the classroom, you are all vital. You deserve support not only financially, but in your working conditions. Our teachers should never have to fear when they teach truth to our students. Supporting our teaching staff means supporting our students. Teaching conditions are student conditions. I know it's traditional that we give teachers gift cards and treats. I know we provide free lunches and silly dress-up days. However, I challenge the board and our public to support teacher appreciation by advocating for our teachers. Speak up to the county commissioners, our state leaders, and even our congressmen about the need for teachers and our need for more diversity in our teaching staff. Tell them how important supporting teachers is for our educational system to thrive and serve all students. Tell our teachers we love them by advocating with them for better pay, better working conditions, and the freedom to teach. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Wing Ng.
Good evening. I'm here today to talk about the funding proposal for speech-language evaluations for students with special needs. The proposal wishes to increase funding because of growing demand for evaluation of kids who are educated outside of the public school. I will not comment on its price tag or its necessity, since it is the right thing to do. no matter if they are in public school, private school, or homeschool. However, I must ask one question. Why is there a growing demand? Maybe more parents are pulling their kids from public school because they are not learning as they should. In fact, students with special needs are seeing greater learning loss than their typically developing peers. Programs are chronically underfunded, and when we had to go to remote learning, kids in special education programs suffered the most. It just did not work. Or maybe parents don't agree with what else is being taught. Do children with special needs have to be saddled with learning about racism? Do they need to spend precious school time learning about gender identity or gender affirmation? They have enough academic challenges to overcome as it is. And is it right to expose them to sexually explicit materials or even to talk about sexual matters when they may not be at the developmental age to understand them? Children are very impressionable, and even more so for children with special needs. Parents should be the ones to teach these sensitive matters at home, at their discretion, and let's stick to teaching the basics at school. Or maybe parents are afraid another mask mandate is coming, and they don't want to fight another mask exemption fight. Or maybe parents are just fed up that they are not being heard, despite spending their years banging at the proverbial door. I'm sure many parents can relate to what I'm talking about, even if they don't have a child with special needs. When parents have to go elsewhere for schooling, it is a direct indictment of your school board policies. To make matters worse, in this proposal, it refers to our children as, quote, parentally placed students. Excuse me, but they are not placed in our care by the school system. No, they are not your children, as President Biden would want you to believe. These children are our children 24/7, and we must know what is best for them, and we must show them what is the best. If you as a board wants to stop the exodus of students from public schools, you must understand and acknowledge this fact and listen to the parents. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ruth Willenborg.
Congratulations. I appreciated the discussion on class rank during last month's policy meeting, and I'm thankful that this board understands the harmful effects of class rank on our kids. The general agreement across parents, students, educators, and the board is actually the strangest part of the class rank discussion. Who is the other side? Why do they want data that is both wrong and harmful to our children? During the policy meeting, Ms. Reardon asserted that the UNC Board of Governors and NCCCS require a standardized transcript with a numeric rank. As a numeric rank is not specified in the state law or Grad 009, where is this documented? Based on public record responses from both the UNC system and DPI, we have an unexpected answer. A document detailing these findings was shared with this board last week. In 2013, a GPA recalculation task force led by the institutions of higher education with representatives from DPI devised and approved the narrowing of the course weightings that are in use today. The 7-point grading scale with 2 augmented sliding scale options was not changed. SBE was directed to update their policy, which they did, and they approved on August 7, 2014. So therefore, some of today's most serious class rank issues were introduced 2 months later when DPI switched to the 10-point system and eliminated the augmented scale options. These changes, as well as the emergency addition that implemented PC-19, were neither devised nor approved by UNC, and therefore are not part of the standard method. We also found no documentation supporting NCDPI's claim that the standard method requires a numeric class rank. Class rank is defined very broadly as based on weighted GPA. In fact, the task force wrote, the group generally felt that class rank was an issue that is more properly addressed within the Department of Public Instruction. as most UNC universities either don't use class rank within their admissions rubric or use class rank on a lesser scale than other factors. So UNC did not prescribe and does not care about having a single class rank method. Class rank methods were intentionally left to DPI and local discretion. Class rank is harming our kids, the data is wrong, and the method appears to be illegal. Let's take the final task force recommendation to heart, to be cognizant that whatever system is used, we want our students to continue to be competitive in those college university admission pools outside of the UNC system. It's time to take action and remove class rank. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Raya Kapali.
Hello, my name is Ria Kapali. I am a 7th grade student at West Cary Middle School. I want to share with you how Career and Technical Education, or CTE, helps students like me. My first middle school elective introduced me to Family and Consumer Sciences. I quickly joined the Career and Technical Student Organization, or CTSO, for FCS students, which is FCCLA, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. I want to celebrate some of the successes at my own school as an example of the positive impact of career and technical education. I and 6 of my fellow Family and Consumer Sciences students at West Cary entered FCCLA's Level 1 skill demonstration events for students in grades 6 through 8. From West Cary, Sharon placed first and Ella placed third in the FCCLA Knowledge Challenge. Phoebe placed first and Maddie placed third in the Nutrition Challenge. Yujita placed second in interviewing skills, I placed first in Teach FCS, and Sadie placed first in Toys That Teach. For the second year in a row, West Cary has more Level 1 skill demonstration winners than any other school in the country. Again this year, West Cary is the largest individual middle school chapter in the state. We were one of 6 schools to receive recognition for our Say Yes to Mental Health project. Because of our efforts to support mental and physical health by spending time in nature, our West Cary Walks initiative was chosen as the best middle school project in the country for the FCCLA National Program student body this year. This March, I was one of 4 Family and Consumer Sciences students in North Carolina elected to represent over 4,000 affiliated FCCLA members in 75 middle and high school chapters. Since our installation as state officers for the upcoming school year, at the 2022 State Leadership Conference in Greensboro, I have taken great pride in serving as your North Carolina FCCLA State Vice President of Public Relations. Thank you for supporting strong CTE programs with active CTSOs for students like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria, and congratulations to you and your peers. Our next speaker is Lana Witt.
Good evening, Wake County Public School Board of Education members. It's been 2 years since parents and community members, long quiet about the leadership of our public school system, began to petition you through public comment, respectfully asking questions about their rights and freedoms outlined in our North Carolina Constitution in Article 1, Section 15. The people have the right to the privilege of education, and it is the duty of the state to guard and maintain that right. For 2 years, parents continuously offered their voice in person when given opportunity, virtual and in writing when not allowed to access you to address various concerns and grievances. As I prepared to visit again tonight, I reflected on the past 2 years and began to wonder about the exact oath you took when you were elected. December 1st of 2020.
That I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of North Carolina,
of the state of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
my
duties
as a member of
the Wake County Board of Education.
the Wake County Board of Education.
The oath isn't to a governor or a DHHS secretary. It's not even to your constituents. As we look at closing this school year and prepare for the coming school year, I ask you to refresh our community by being leaders who live out your oath. Reflect and ask if you've participated in upholding constitutional rights of all parents and students to be educated amidst the business and fear of COVID. Keep your oath to support and maintain the Constitution above any special interest or union pressure. It is these constitutional documents that originally united all of our families hundreds of years ago, and again numerous times as it was amended here in North Carolina in the 1800s. It's these documents and the rights that continue to be a light to other nations. Like in the most difficult and best of marriages, when one of you begin to stray from the simplicity of this oath, may all the others keep upholding these constitutional rights for all North Carolinians. John Locke Foundation, based here in Raleigh, donated these North Carolina constitutions for you to keep close at hand.
Our next speaker is Renee Seckel.
Good evening. I'm here to speak about the importance of culturally responsive books and curriculum in our schools. We've seen for months and months and months people standing up here, speaking up for books, speaking up against censorship. And what we're standing for isn't radical. It isn't or shouldn't be scary. Most of us, I would bet, have had the experience of reading a book that reflects our experiences and makes us understand that we're not alone or that our experiences are neither wrong nor unusual. For me, being a redhead, born on Prince Edward Island and adopted basically meant that Anne of Green Gables was my sister. As I said, that need to be able to find oneself in one's experiences in books is common and understandable. So it's really instructive to note the way that the folks in this room who want books banned responded when Ms. Letha Muhammad made a simple assertion last meeting that schools need culturally responsive books. They called her a pervert. A pervert. And that's how we know. That's how we know that the effort to ban books and to demonize our schools isn't about sex. It's not about so-called pornography. It's certainly not about protecting children. This is about labeling certain people obscene merely for existing. This is about small groups of adults desperate to ensure that kids who aren't white, who aren't straight or cisgender, and who don't subscribe to their particular brand of religion feel unwelcome in our schools. And they're desperate to ensure that their own kids will never slip their control, will never have a chance to develop empathy for the people that their parents hate. And so they attack our schools, our librarians. They attack the children who just want the freedom to read books that they choose. And of course, they attack us, the parents standing against them. What happened to Ms. Muhammad was not an isolated incident. It was just the latest in a months-long campaign of harassment of anyone who dares disagree with them. Some of you have been made specifically aware that members of your own campaign staff have been engaged in harassment, and the silence has been deafening. As Ms. Kushner noted, our public schools are for everyone, all kids, but especially kids for whom our schools have not always been welcoming or safe spaces, deserve to see themselves reflected in the libraries and in the curriculum. They deserve a truthful, clear-eyed education on the history of this country. But none of that happens by accident. It takes sustained and intentional effort by all of the stakeholders in our schools. And so I have a message for those of you who may be watching at home tonight. It is time for each and every one of us to get off the sidelines and take an active role in protecting our schools and the students in them. We all need to be speaking out for our children that others will label obscene merely for existing. So come to the meetings, make comment, and above all, be aware who's seeking to take over this school board in November.
Our next speaker is Daniel Grant King.
Good evening, Chair Mahaffey, Superintendent Moore, and board members. As you know by now, I'm Mr. Grant King, and I currently serve as an employee of Wake County and also advocate at the state level for our educators and our instructional assistants. As we reflect on Teacher Appreciation Week, the attacks, I come board meeting after board meeting and see people come before you, our elected officials, and attack. And that alone is near and dear to my heart, because what happened at last board meeting to me was very concerning and yet above all not fair. Because one of my dear friends who is here this evening made just an observation, and she was penalized. That should have not been, but it was. And yet, while she was escorted out by security, everyone else got to stay. Nothing additional was done. And that just goes to show you what the reality that we now have to deal with as a society. So on this evening, I would like to really express my dear gratitude to my dear friend that is here this evening for her work and her diligence to the organization of Education Justice Alliance, because it is more than coming before you, our officials, but there's work that goes on behind the scenes, advocacy work for our colored students, especially those who have been racially profiled in this school system, but yet nothing is done. I am a product of Wake County Schools. I graduated from Wake County Schools, and not ashamed to say that. But when things occur from people who constantly attack this Board of Education for the work that you all are trying to do, it is despicable and just downright selfish. And so I implore the Board of Education, and I implore you, Ms. Kushner, for what you said this evening, because it is very important that racism is not tolerated at all. And that's why I do what I do at the state level and continue to advocate for our educators and our communities. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Tracy Taylor.
Good evening, board members. It's been a little while since I've gotten a chance to speak to you. First of all, I just want to address some things that have been said in this boardroom tonight. The first is when it comes to parents not advocating for certain books, it's the books that have cartoon depictions of minors giving each other oral sex. I'm sorry, but that is not what should be in Wake County Public Schools. It does not promote academics. It promotes promiscuity. I don't have an agenda. I'm not running for office. But I do advocate for the truth, and I have been advocating for students for over 11 years. One of our board members tonight, again, spoke about COVID cases. Failed to address hospitalizations that are at their lowest. Failed to address that the BA2 variant is the dominant variant, 99%, in North Carolina. Also failed to address that, again, as COVID changes, it becomes less virulent. I expect you, as a member of the science industry, to tell all of the truth and not just what you want people to hear. Another one of our board members spoke about mental health tonight. And what you all fail to acknowledge is by keeping schools closed, teaching online, you have not only been complicit with our children's mental health, you have lowered the bar in ways that is not acceptable, not just at the local level, but at the state level, as well as the country. We have people up here who are advocating against class rank. I don't think you understand that class rank is what's used across the country. It's also what merit scholarships are based on, as well as SAT ranking. For those of you who don't have students in high school, that's coming, and that is the reality. Either we can choose to continue to keep the bar raised high and meet students where they are so that they can do well and succeed, or you can choose not to.
Our next speaker is Stephanie Lorman.
We watched the nationwide Moms for Liberty political machine take the membership they built off anti-mask protests and shift it to attacking books. I can't personally make the homes of religious extremists a safe and healthy environment for queer students, and I can't personally eradicate the racism in the white queer community for queer students of color. What I can do is ask this board for the specific legal protections that come from an equity policy. Culturally relevant and gender-affirming books can save lives. They always enrich lives. My parents were not religious extremists, and I'm so grateful now to have at least missed that extra serving of internalized self-loathing. But from 1982 through 1993, I was an ADHD, bisexual Cumberland County public school student who quite literally didn't know that bisexuality was a thing that existed outside of the fantasy of men. Not seeing bisexual relationships in my fiction did not prevent me from having romantic crushes on girls. I just felt deeply ashamed and broken. That shame has impacted every relationship I've had for my entire life, to include my long cis-het marriage when I came out a few years ago to my thankfully supportive and loving partner. To the youth who are enduring this debate about your humanity in so many news outlets, to the young ears hearing their parents demean and ridicule other children because, yes, kids hear everything we whisper, please trust those of us telling you that the shame here is not yours to carry. Your decisions about how you express gender, how you reject or accept how past generations defined gender, on who and how you participate in relationships, those are your choices. And before the common and false refrain of it's not that, it's the explicit sex, a reminder that it is legal in North Carolina for 16-year-olds to marry, and that it has only been a year since we raised that age from 14. The same flavor of religious extremist that prevented the child marriage age from being raised to 18 now insists that even though you are legally old enough to marry, you are too young to read the word penis or to learn about the existence of sexual aid devices. I feel so much sadness and anger for kids absorbing this bile in 2022 when we have nothing but opportunity to know and be better people. For the children of color who have been fighting for equity access in Wake County School for decades, for the kids suffering through true grooming of sexual abuse and not the version being weaponized to motivate a religious extremist voting bloc. I wept after reading the last page of Genderqueer for the first time. The author wrote, "Though I have struggled with being your daughter, I am so glad that I am your child. Many parts of that memoir spoke to my experiences as a youth, but that one hit me in the parent feels. Parents, I promise that at least some of you are going to feel the full consequence of your choices when your kids are old enough to get away. You'll sit around with the other lonely elders blaming everyone from marks to demonic possession, but it will absolutely be your fault. It'll be the hatred that you spewed when maybe you didn't even know you were talking about your kid.
Our next speaker is Amanda Horlebine.
I don't know when religion came into the picture. This school system is broken. Today I come again with more questions than answers. How many times have you been read obscene content and embraced it? How many times have you acknowledged parents you disagree with? How many times have you closed your eyes, laughed, or rolled your eyes at concerned parents? I have lost count. Why do I continue to come here? I'm not running for office. I'm not establishment. I'm a mom, the most underestimated force in society. 2020 has taught me that even one person can make change. I come here so that other parents might be made aware of the state of our school system. I come here each meeting to hold all of you accountable because what you are doing is not working. Sitting stone cold behind a mask listening to public comment isn't working to open lines of communication in our community. Denying learning loss isn't real, isn't raising test scores. Asking for more money isn't allocating funding appropriately. Trying to be a healthcare and psychological facility isn't working as students continue to lack the basic education they are promised. Political parties, pseudo-teacher unions, and the local GOP pushing their weight around but not backing it up with action is not working. Parents who think someone else will advocate for them, parents who don't want to make waves, the thousands of parents hiding behind a keyboard but never once showing up is not working. I'm a mom, not a politician, and there are some things I just don't understand, like why did it take 2 years for Tim Moore and the General Assembly to bring the Free the Smiles Act just as masks were coming off? Why does the Lieutenant Governor have a task force if no one responds to parents like myself who have reached out? Why does the governor still have North Carolina in a state of emergency? Why does Kathy Moore make $300,000 a year while teachers struggle? The system is corrupt, society is divided in two, and no one is going to fix it for you. No one is going to protect your child for you. No politician, no Facebook group, no school board member, no one. You have to pay attention. You have to show up. You have to vote. You have to make waves. You have to hold these people accountable because no one is going to do it for you. All the political forces thrown at parents over the past 2 years are just a drop in the bucket compared to the lengths we, the parents, will go to protect our children. We will never, ever back down, ever. We will always be here watching, holding you accountable. Why do I come here? I come here to remind parents that your days in office are not promised. They are numbered. You have 189 days left until we, the parents, can make change. I suggest working with parents instead of against them. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Katie Long.
Good evening, everyone. As the 2022 school year is coming to an end, let us not forget the nightmare that we as parents and our children have gone through in the past 2 years. We especially must not forget about our parents' and children's rights that have been stolen from us and who is responsible. For the past 2 years, our families have faced challenging times because of the current school board members. Parents were denied the right to direct their child's physical, mental, and emotional health. Many mask exemptions were denied across the school county. Lockdowns and mask mandates significantly impacted our children's mental health and learning. It is what sparked my activism since September 2021 because my child fell into depression. Parents were not provided full transparency regarding their child's curriculum and performance data. The data provided appears to be manipulated to reflect the favorable of the school district, lowering academic standards in order to increase graduation rates would be a result, as an example. Prior to the pandemic, Parents volunteered in their children's classrooms and ate lunch with their children on any given day. Their involvement in their children's education was stripped away with no rational explanation other than shifting the blame on COVID, while other children in countries like Sweden were thriving amid the pandemic. Parents were not provided full transparency of student surveys and privacies. What we discovered in these student surveys were questions that did not pertain to students' immediate education, but rather questions that coerced them into answering directly in ways that violate the privacy. When seeking solutions through systems' prior channels and processes, parents were encountering resistance. Parents were encountering resistance and rhetoric from the same administrators and principals who are aware that the process of filing a grievance is not easily accessible. An amicable solution was rarely achieved for which they will need to be accountable. In closing, I'd like to remind the public one more thing. Our voices were also ignored and muted by the current school board by limiting the number of speakers at school board meetings and parents who question policy decisions and express concerns over the children's curriculum. The parents will have their voice back, and together we will never have it stolen from us again. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brandy Sullivan.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Brandy Sullivan, and I am a resident of Apex. I have 3 beautiful, healthy children that attend 2 different public schools here in Wake County. My youngest is a cheetah. He attends Holly Springs Elementary, and thanks to Wake County, he has been given such an amazing opportunity of getting the best start to his academic career. I learned about services provided by Wake County through Project Enlightenment. We had an amazing educator come to our home. She was part of the Parents as Teacher program, and she made such a beautiful impact for our family. This amazing educator did home visits with my son and I when he was an infant. I noticed that he was learning differently and at a different speed than my other 2 children, and she provided such amazing tools each time she came to our home to visit. She was patient and kind, and even gave me free passes to the Marbles Museum occasionally so that I could take the kids out for fun adventures. She empowered me with the knowledge of the different programs offered by Wake County. Thanks to her resources and her ability of pointing me in the right direction, we had my son assessed, and he is currently attending a CCK classroom in Holly Springs Elementary. He has an amazing teacher who is so kind and patient as well. She is a complete blessing for our family. My son entered the school year with a difficult time of sitting still or keeping his hands to himself, and now he's just, everything has turned around, his demeanor, his ability to speak, and it's all thanks to the amazing services provided by you all. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Christine Zaccardi.
Good evening. My name's Christine Zaccardi. I'm the librarian at Fox Road Elementary School, and I came here tonight to talk about the power of school libraries. I'd like to thank the members of the board who have recently upheld our students' freedom to read by allowing books to remain on our library shelves where they belong. To the students who have also come to speak out on behalf of their right to read books that affirm and honor their identities in authentic ways, I'm so proud of you all. You are representatives of exactly what Wake County's core belief number 5 means when it states that the Board of Education, Superintendent, and all staff value a diverse school community that's inviting, respectful, inclusive, flexible, and supportive. When we truly create those environments, students like you are the beautiful results. I'd like to speak about creating those environments and the power it has. Core belief number 5 speaks to the heart of what true librarianship means. The library is the heart of the school. It's a place that connects to everything in the school: the students, the teachers and staff, families and caregivers. It can support curriculum, it supports independent reading, it's a place for creativity, it's a safe space, a place that's welcoming and inviting. When I first started working at Fox Road, the library collection looked nothing like what it does today. Over the last 9 years, I've worked to make the collection reflect the diversity of our students by increasing access to high-quality, culturally sustaining books. Libraries have the ability to bring communities together, build empathy, develop critical thinking, and transform the lives of the people within their communities by providing access to necessary resources. We've partnered with community organizations such as Wake Up and Read in order to build students' home libraries, and grassroots organizations like Project Lit to increase students' love of literacy. Last year, during remote learning, I read students' bedtime stories virtually as a way to keep our connection together, and also just as a way to make sure students who wanted a bedtime story could have one. If I were to think about the impact that's had over the years, I would estimate that at least 4,000 students have benefited from this purposeful collection development. That's 4,000 students who have come to the library each week with the ability to check out an unlimited number of books. Books that have characters that look like them, that represent their religion, their ethnicity, that might be written in the language they speak at home so they can read with a family member or loved one, or books that have positive LGBTQ+ representation of their family structure, current and historical role models, and or fictional characters. When a kindergarten student at my school grabbed a book with Miles Morales on the cover and held it up next to his face and proclaimed, "It's me," it seemed like a cute story and an even cuter picture, and it really was. But it's also more than that. It's a 5-year-old who's seeing himself reflected back on the shelves. From the beginning of his school career, he's had his identity validated. The library is a place for him. Not only is it a place that's welcoming, but even the superheroes look like him. Why wouldn't he want to come back? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gabriella Burwell. Gabriella Burwell.
I'm just going to introduce Gabriella really quickly, and I'd like to congratulate Superintendent Moore and Marlo Gaddis and your team. We couldn't do our job without you. Gabriella is our state winner.
Sorry, we can only have one person, but yes, thank you. We did hear Gabriella was our state winner for our poetry competition, and I so appreciate the enthusiasm of her educators.
Thank you. Today I'm going to be reciting a small part of one of my poems, Dr. Booker T. Washington to the National Negro Business League by Joseph C. Moncotter, Sr. 'Tis strange indeed to hear us plead for selling and for buying when yesterday we said away with all good things but dying. The world's ago and we're agog to have our first brief inning. So let's away through surge and fog, however slight the winning. Yea, orators of point and pith who force the world to heed you. What skeletons you'll journey with, ere it is forced to feed you. A little gold won't mar our grace, a little ease our glory. This world's a better biding place when money clinks its story. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriella, and congratulations again. We appreciate you taking the time to share with us. Our next speaker is Latham Muhammad.
Good evening. So, as everybody knows, a couple of weeks ago when I was here for the board meeting, I stood in this very spot to talk about the importance of prioritizing a budget that recognizes that culturally affirming books and curriculum are important for our students to be reflected and to see themselves. And I was attacked by a bully. And I responded. And as I, have taken the last couple of weeks to think back over the attack and my response, I had the right to respond. Maybe if I did it again, I'd respond in a different manner, but maybe I wouldn't have. Can't say. But what I'm really here to say tonight to you all, that it is very important for us to protect this space, this time. Public comments are our right as citizens to stand before you as elected board members and share our concerns. I've been coming to this boardroom, some of you all know, at least 10 years, speaking up and out and on behalf of myself, my students, and other families in Wake County. And never had I ever had an experience like I experienced 2 weeks ago. It is important for this space to be safe. I have heard from so many community members and students that they don't want to come to this space to speak because over the last 2 years, folks have been in this room and been allowed to act a plum fool, to be bullies and threatening. We want more Gabriellas to come up here and share their wonderful oratory skills or their concerns like our first speaker tonight around class rank. We want parents to stand before you and share their excitement like one of the parents who just spoke about her son's experience. We want parents to share their concern because that is our right as citizens of this state to be before you and without being attacked by audience members. I had folks call me and say, Letha, don't stop. And I was clear that I'm not stopping because I don't do this for me. I don't come and talk to y'all because I like to see y'all, right? I come because this is important. Somebody has to stand up, somebodies, and speak the truth, to call us forward, to remind us of the children, the least of us, right, who oftentimes get forgotten and thrown away, pushed out of schools, and a data point. And I'm just here to affirm that I'm not going anywhere, that I'll be here and my community will too, that we know that our public schools are important places for our families and communities to thrive and grow in. And I encourage you all to protect this space. Thank you.
Your time is up. Thank you. Our next speaker is Chad Stahl.
Good evening. I'm going to just take a second. I was sitting on this side of the room in the last meeting when I was called out by name, right? And I had nothing to do with it. And I actually agree. I think that every single person who comes to this podium, it is their right to speak. And they do deserve that time. I myself, I was okay with your reaction, to be honest with you. I was more disappointed that she got kicked out. Because, I've listened to moms read books to you that have way, way more extreme language in it than one person who is up here trying to defend their space for their free speech. Now, I think that we have to 100% recognize that free speech should be free to all of us, even when we disagree. So I just want to go on record and let you know I was there. In the words of one of my other favorite poets, Shaggy, it wasn't me. Okay. Friday, I was at the GA's legislative office downtown, right? I was meeting with some of those guys there, and I just, once again, so you know, I have started asking them and requesting them if they would be willing to maybe allow you to cut out some of that fear money, some of that COVID money, and actually invest it in something that's a little heavier in the arts. Because I don't hear any of you talking about healing. recovery. I hear you just constantly talking about, okay, here's the problem, mental health, mental health, mental health. Well, over the last 10 years, right, social emotional learning has been such a focus. Suicide rates have only gone up. In 2020, the number one leading cause of children dying between 15 and 17 was homicide. Homicide. So I hear you talking about all the fluffy, puffy stuff, but I don't hear you offering any solutions. So yesterday I was at the commissioner's office, was able to connect with Mr. Ellis, really cool guy. And I asked him, I said, well, has Wake County, has the public school system gone to you to try to utilize some of the park space so that you could have a beautiful, instead of locking all of the principals in the little hallway there, to have a beautiful open space for the community to come and show appreciation, instead of trying to squeeze everybody in here, lock them in the little whatever that is back there, actually like really reward them. And I'll tell you, a third group of people that you are absolutely just being ignorant in your attention span are the children. The children that you neglected, the children that you've masked, the children that you've stripped their individuals from. You stripped it from them. You are not yet awakened to the idea yet that you owe something to them. They have been phenomenal. The parents that have gotten up here that have been upset, I get upset thinking about it. Those children did not deserve 1 single ounce of your authoritarianism. Not one. And you've yet to open your mouths to apologize to them, to do anything for them. Get with the county, do something at the parks, make a real difference. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cecilia Joyce.
Hi, good evening. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I'm going to turn the tables a little bit by letting you know some of the things that I appreciate as a teacher. Some of what I say might resonate with other educators too. What do I, a joyful veteran educator and proud union member, appreciate? First of all, I appreciated that awesome trail mix bar that our PTA provided for us today. It was really yummy. In fact, I appreciate all that our PTAs do to support and advocate for educators and students. And on that note, I would like to encourage all PTA families to email our county commissioners recommending that they fully fund the Wake County Public Schools budget request. You can also attend a budget public hearing on May 11th, May 16th, May 18th. Go to the Wake County Commissioners Meetings website for all the details. I appreciate it when we all think of all of our children, not just our own children at home. Some school social workers I know want you to know that so many kids are struggling with mental health needs. We desperately need the support of counselors, social workers, and nurses, and the Wake budget request includes increased funding in that area. Please take a look at the superintendent's proposed budget under finances on the Wake County Public Schools website. I also appreciate it when we let librarians do their job as professionals and allow them to follow policy and procedures, allowing them to promote literacy, provide access to information, and introduce children to the joy of reading. I also appreciate it when folks stand with us in upholding the Constitution, as it prohibits public bodies such as libraries from discriminating on the basis of viewpoint or censoring materials based on their message. Libraries uphold these constitutional principles by enabling readers to choose materials representing a variety of ideas, opinions, and views. This fundamental right is for all citizens, not just those over age 18. These rights are critical to all of our students, especially students of color, our LGBTQIA youth, to whom seeking themselves represented in literature could very well mean life or death, joy or misery in our schools. And finally, I appreciate the support of our Wake County Public Schools core values. We are tasked with preparing students to maximize opportunities in this global economy. They are able to do this when they can understand people with different life experiences and can navigate diverse cultures. We want our students to see the world and understand its peoples and its history so they can leverage their full potential as informed and engaged citizens. Please allow educators to continue to teach true history in age-appropriate ways. School board and Superintendent Moore and others, I appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Russell Lichtenstein.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm here tonight to bring light to the priorities of this board, specifically those who continually vote for obscene and pornographic material to be readily available to our children. There is no shortage of lies and conflation when it comes to this subject. No one is advocating for the banning of books. I see cute T-shirts stating "I read banned books." I wonder if that refers to the Bible or maybe Huckleberry Finn. There must be conflation because when you understand the facts, this argument falls apart. The suggestion is not to ban books, but to control at what age they're accessible. Just like any other explicit material, there are age limits. In my view, that is what being a parent is all about. I believe my primary job, my duty as a parent of a 9-year-old daughter and my 14-year-old son is to keep them safe. This means protecting their innocence first and foremost for as long as possible, while at the same time preparing them to be adults. As their parent and guardian, who knows them better than any teacher and/or administrator, will decide when and what I teach about sex, gender, and other moral issues. This is not the place of school or teachers. I don't need someone to live vicariously and have their own personal affirmations pushed onto my own children. For too long, parents were complicit and oblivious to what really goes on inside the classroom. But with the advent of social media and COVID forcing us to see what goes on in the classroom, we are finally seeing behind the curtain. I am unsure when the line between a parent and teacher became so blurry, but I am thankful. I am thankful that it has awoken me and has awoken the citizenry that wants its country back and wants its schools back. We don't want a socially engineered grooming mill, but a place of academic excellence, a place of morality. I am thankful that this time next year I'll be standing in front of a board that listens to the parents, that understands the difference between pornography and sex education. I am thankful for my friends that I've met since coming here in August that will run and put their monies where their mouths are. Thank you very much.
This concludes public comment. Moving on to our superintendent updates. Superintendent Moore.
Good evening again. We highlighted 3 things during our budget work session today. The first was an opportunity for the board members to continue to provide feedback and get updates on the work of the strategic plan. Today we honed in a little bit more on trying to ensure that board feedback is placed within and how in our core beliefs as we move forward. And you got an update on the work that's already started and is ongoing with regards to getting feedback from large groups in the community and stakeholders to help provide for the development of our strategic priorities as we move forward. Second item in the work session was about letters training. The board had asked several questions and wanted some information from the last board meeting around a proposal to implement 6 early release days in the next school year, which would require a change to our calendar. And the board had some questions. We provided additional information today on options for doing that, in particular taking the extension of the school day off the table. We believe that most of our schools, we knew that most of our schools had more than enough time to accommodate that, but we really needed to go back and check. And we do still have a few schools that we need to work with to make those modifications. And then just a little bit further explanation of what is needed. And no action tonight. If we are going to seek action, we will bring that at the next board meeting. And the last item was really the initial planning session that happens for the 23-24 enrollment plan that will come at the beginning of the next school year. The 23-24 enrollment plan will not focus on the opening of any new schools. We do not have any new schools that are opening, but there is an opportunity and some need to address our schools that are either overcrowded or capped or under-enrolled. There were a couple of other things that came up in the conversation as we knew they would, the role of magnets, calendar choice. There's a number of things that are in there. So they're all sort of intertwined, and we will be able to advance that discussion based on board member feedback. I think it's also important to note that within that presentation today, there are 2 new schools opening in 24-25, 5 new schools in 25-26. That is 7 new schools in the span of 2 years. So while there may not be enrollment decisions being made about those schools next year, we are going to try to front load information to communities that will be impacted as we started doing a few years ago, because that is a large number of new schools opening in the next few years. And that was our work session.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore. We're moving on to our consent items. If we can get a motion to approve our consent items, please.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve consent as listed.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the consent items, please signify with aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, thank you very much. We now move on to our agenda items. First being a waiver of board policy 8101 for approval of the proposed 2022-2023 budget. Mr. Nieder.
Thank you, and good evening, Chair Mahaffey, members of the board, and Superintendent Moore. At your April 5th board meeting, the superintendent and staff presented the superintendent's proposed 2022-23 budget. That proposed budget invests $24.9 million in fund balance into the proposed budget. The $24.9 million investment of fund balance is more than the threshold that is set out by Board Policy 8101. Board Policy 8101 directs that the board will not use more than 50% of its unassigned fund balance to balance a future year's budget. And the unassigned fund balance as of June 30, 2021 is $44.7 million. The investment of $24.9 million in fund balance represents 55.7% of that June 30th fund balance. As a result, staff is requesting the board waive Policy 8101 so the board can move forward in considering approval of the board's proposed 2022-23 budget. Staff has carefully reviewed this and are comfortable in recommending this to the board. Waivers to this policy for similar purposes have been made in past years. And I'll ask the board's consideration of approval of waiving Board Policy 8101.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nieder. Before we move on to discussion, do we have a motion? Ms. Cash?
I make a motion that we waive the Policy 8101.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Moving on to discussion. Okay, seeing no hands and hearing none. All in favor of waiver of Board Policy 8101 for the approval of the proposed budget for 2022-23, please signify with aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, thank you, Mr. Nieder. We now move on to our next agenda item, and my guess is you're going to be sticking with us, which is the approval of the Board of Education's proposed 2022-2023 budget.
Yes, ma'am. After the presentation of the superintendent's proposed budget on April 5th, the board has taken a number of steps. They've asked questions about the proposed budget and received staff responses. They've conducted a budget work session, held a public hearing, and are now further discussing it tonight. That said, much uncertainty exists and will remain into the foreseeable future. As the county commissioners consider the proposed budget that was presented to them last night by the county manager, and as we await the state legislature returning in mid-month, I think it's the 18th of May, to review the second year of their biennial budget. The proposed budget of Wake County Public Schools for 22-23 includes several funding priorities that are part of a multi-year initiative. I'd like to review those priority areas with you. First, pandemic relief funding to continue to invest in the support of interrupted learning resulting from the pandemic. Second, compensation increases for our staff to acknowledge we value their work, and equally importantly, to help us become more competitive in recruiting and retaining these staff. Compensation increases include raising our starting hourly rate for support staff to $16 per hour. The proposal also includes a request of local funding for the currently legislated average 2.5% compensation increase for other instructional, non-instructional staff. Not where we need to be, but again, a step in the right direction. Third, expansion of instructional support technicians to leverage the continued expansion of digital devices, digital learning content platforms, and related digital learning tools. Fourth, expansion of behavioral health support resources for our students and families so that they have access to social workers, counselors, school psychologists, and related support staff. And fifth, continuing to increase funding for the maintenance and operations of our schools, with the ultimate target of this multi-year initiative to maintain our facilities with funding at nationally established funding formula averages. The proposed budget also includes funding requests to support the opening of 4 new schools next year: 2 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school and early college. The proposed budget includes funding requests to support expansion of magnet school programming, athletic staffing and school allotment expansion, performing arts allotment expansion, and academically intellectually gifted program expansion. The proposed budget also includes additional local funds required to pay charter schools and to meet increasing employer benefit contribution rate increases as set by the state. All school funding and resource allotment formulas remain at 2021-22 levels in the 22-23 proposed budget, with one exception. The high school system principal formula actually increases based upon one of the funding requests. These priority focus areas and initiatives and others are the basis of requesting an increase of $56 million in the county appropriation. Of that $56 million request of the county, $35.2 million, or 63%, is for improving staff compensation. And with an additional $8.3 million being requested, or 15% of that request, for payments to charter schools and increased requirements for state benefit rates and employer benefit payments. So I want to stress this: 78% of the requested funding increase from the county is for employee compensation, charter school payments, and employer benefit rate increases required by the state. The board has now waived Board Policy 8101, allowing it to invest more than 50% of the prior year's unassigned fund balance into the proposed budget. Staff is available to answer any final questions, and then we ask the board's consideration of approval of the board's proposed 2022-23 operating budget.
Thank you, Mr. Nieder. I think we all feel the gravity of the request that is put before us with the superintendent's proposed budget. Before we move on to discussion, is there a motion to be had?
Motion to support the superintendent's proposed budget.
Okay. And to adopt it as the Board of Education's budget? Yes.
That is the motion.
Okay, yes, sir. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Carter.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I was going to mention my support for so much of this going for staff compensation, and you pointed out the percentages, so I won't go over that. But I think it's important for our employees to know where we're trying to get, where we're going, and where we're trying to get, and hopeful that the state will stick to their commitment. Specifically, I'm talking about that hourly 15. Feel free to increase that if you wish. But other than that, please don't. You've left out public school employees for too long. And I just want to thank you and your team and everyone who works on this for how you put together the information for staff to be able to see where we're hoping to be able to go, because I know I just feel like that's so important, literally in writing, so and not just to have to guess. So I appreciate that. I also, you mentioned the social workers and school, the social, emotional, mental health support, and I wanted to say thank you again. I know we're not at the national recommended ratios, but your team, that was one of the questions I had, put together that chart that is linked on our website under the board question and answers. And I just bear with me just a moment. Just to point out something like a school social worker, currently the current year, we're at a 1 to 1,432. That's the ratio. Where we're projected, again, if we get support, financial support, by 25, 26. So that is a little ways away, but within reach here. It's hopeful to get to 1 to 250. That is a huge, to me, step in the right direction. I wish quicker, but at least having the hope that that's where we're going. And, you know, it's for the counselors, school psychologists, school nurses, all trying to get to that nationally recommended ratio. And I do feel that that is a very important piece, and I am grateful for the goals that have been set out for that. The other piece, and I know we have spoken about the textbooks, and I'm hopeful that we will see that come back to us with some type of plan, whatever steps we can make in that direction, baby steps, whatever, just to start having some of those physical textbooks back in our schools. And I just, I'm hopeful that the county commissioners will support as well, since so much of this is for our staff compensation and also our facilities, which we know wish, again, it's not perfect where we need, you know, where we're headed, but it's a step in the correct direction. I hate to, I'm saying that nice as I can, because I would have more. But I just thank you for your work on this. No, it's not perfect for those who are wondering and ask me. It's not, but it is, in many of the areas, a step in the direction that I feel our staff, and it directly impacts our students. If we have staff, if we can maintain staff, consistent staffing, and staff that feel supported and truly appreciated and not worrying about having to juggle 2 or 3 other jobs, whatever it may be, I think it's important. So that's.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Ms. Kushner.
Thank you, and I would sincerely echo Ms. Carter's comments. I think so much of our increase request was fixed costs, the cost for new schools, the legislative mandates, the paths through to charter schools, but that additional piece, that $35.2 million, is focused on our employees. And the county manager referenced in an airplane, you put your oxygen mask on first, and they were attending to their goals and their needs, but you have to complete the task of putting your oxygen mask on and then putting the oxygen mask on the child or the other vulnerable person next to you. And so we need the same support for our employees going forward. And I hope the commission and the county will see that we cannot continue to be consistently rated as one of the best places to live and work in America. And we are consistently rated highly, but we won't continue to be if we don't have strong public schools. So I hope that they will go through our request and carefully consider the places where we have wanted to invest in our community.
Ms. Waters.
Thank you, Chairman Haffey. I really value the work that has gone into creating a budget of this magnitude and not having experience being a part of something so large and so important. And I'm really proud of the work to compensate teachers, and it feels very personal for me this year, particularly as my son at his school lost a principal and 4 amazing teachers. 3 were special ed teachers, and so don't want to see anyone else leaving the district. So really glad that we're prioritizing and supporting our employees and making that a priority. And I'm just really hopeful that we will be able to get the funding that we're requesting. As I look at the budget document and I see it as really telling a story and wanting to really emphasize the way that we support our employees and also our students, particularly as many of our students are still grappling with the impact of the pandemic. So as I asked many questions throughout this process and looking for equity and how we prioritize that, I'm thankful for the work and looking forward to how the funds that we are requesting are going to strengthen our district and continue to support the important work that our teachers do, that all of our staff do. So I appreciate the tremendous body of work that has gone into the creation and appreciate being a part of this process.
Thank you. Dr. Martin?
Thank you. I, too, want to say thank you to staff for working on developing this budget. I think, Superintendent Moore, you put together a very sound budget. I think, any of us, different community members, might have put in different priorities, but there's absolutely a sound set of priorities that I strongly support. Very pleased to see the return and strengthening of the long-term plan request, because a lot of the needs to get where we need to be. We're down in a hole. You don't get out of the hole all in one shot. It'd be nice if we could, but the hole's too deep. But I think if we outline a plan, just like we did at the 7-year capital plan, I think that's fiscally sound and a very important part of the budget. So very much appreciate that. I advocate for the facilities all the time. Glad to see starting to work on that as one of the long-term plans. So I want to highlight that. And I appreciate the appropriate use, I believe, of a lot of the COVID relief funds. We heard some various things in public comment about not using it appropriately, but I actually think you have proposed, and I think we now agree, that some of these funds are going to be used to meet some of these long-term needs, but we have to recognize they are one-time funds, and so that becomes part of our long-term challenge. I very much appreciate that you have focused this budget on staff compensation. As we all know, it doesn't get us where we need to be, but it's an important step in the right direction. At our joint meeting with the commissioners, I very clearly stated that we need to end that little asterisk, except for school system employees. I believe that our effort to try to go up to $16 an hour is going in the right direction, but I think we have to recognize, I haven't had a chance to look through all of the county budget, but I believe the county was already at $17.33. So we have not eliminated that asterisk. So, Ms. Kushner, to your point, you're absolutely right. You put the mask on yourself, and then you put it on the children. And I'm sorry, you don't keep that asterisk and say, no, you only get a fraction of the oxygen. We're going to keep the main oxygen for ourselves. We need to end that asterisk. We need to end it now. As long as I was asked by somebody, will this compensation request stop the bleeding? I said no. As long as there's a differential between the Wake County pay structure and the Wake County Schools pay structure, we don't end the bleeding. And so it's past time that we end that asterisk. We need to have both groups paid on an equivalent basis. So this is a step in the very much in the right direction. We need to approve it, but really do request that the county commissioners pay attention to that. Related to this, I think it's just high time that we recognize, we've all heard arguments, we've heard some coming out lately, about how we need to pay the best, executives, boards, administrators, in order to get the appropriate candidates for the office, the position. And I want to be clear that we need to make that same argument for every worker. If we don't pay workers appropriately, we're not going to get the workers that we need. We need, if you're going to make the argument that we have to pay an executive to get a quality candidate, then you got to make that same argument for paying a worker. And I think that's really critical as a community as we go forward asking for this budget. It's a small step in the right direction to begin to address some of that compensation. That said, I've also heard several people say, oh, yes, but it's the state job to cover a lot of the compensation. And it is the state's responsibility to cover a lot of the compensation. That needs to increase dramatically as well. Absolutely no question there. The state needs to substantially bring us back up. We were at one time 23rd in the nation. We're not there now in terms of what the state's contribution is, and you can't use local funding to sort of, be that buffer to say, oh, look how good we are as a state. The state dollars themselves need to be above average if we want above average educators. That said, with respect to the local contribution issue, I think it's also important to recognize that the state of North Carolina, I believe rightly, has a differential appropriation to different LEAs. Those in more well-to-do areas get a lower state appropriation than those in higher needs locations. What we note is noted in our budget document, Wake County ranks 114 out of 115 LEAs in terms of the state's compensation. That means that we have a deficit just to get, so the local contribution to get us up even with what is the state average is $606 per student. Our projected enrollment of 159,542 students. That means we need $96.68 million of local contribution just to get up to the state average. Oh, and by the way, that local contribution needs to come for charter school students as well, of which the projected number is 17,291. So that's an additional $10.48 million, for a total of $107.16 million of local appropriation that gets us up to the state average. So when we hear comments about how we have one of the largest state appropriations, or one of the largest local contributions, that's good and that's great, but let's remember that $107.16 million of that local boost is to deal with the equity across the state. That's not addition to Wake County. Now, Wake County, I checked a couple of years ago, I remember the number, I haven't looked recently, but our cost of living index was about 1.07, which means we have a 7% more expensive place to live than the rest of the county. So take that 107.16 million, multiply it by 1.07, now you got 114 million, 0.7. So 114 million, 0.7, you got to add before you can now start talking about the additional compensation that we give locally to our local people. So, a lot of information. Am I advocating? Darn right I am. This request in this budget is absolutely appropriate. We need to, we talk about teacher appreciation. We're going to know teacher appreciation when this budget passes fully funded, and we can make this small step, which still does not erase that asterisk, but it's a small step in the right direction. Again, thank you for the budget, and we'll keep working to try to get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Ms. Cash.
So I want to apologize to a couple board members because I had been asked if we could have a small work session today, which I was given the belief that we were. I was told we would, and then I believe it went to executive, and I therefore did not get any responses from anybody, but Ms. Mahaffey did call me. So we talked a little bit. So we didn't get to talk about the items. I'm disappointed that we didn't have a part of the work session today, and I feel bad that I didn't get any responses about it, again, except from Ms. Mahaffey. And there are some things that I think we should talk about that in this budget. I have nothing, I support the budget. It's not like I'm talking about anything big. These are little things, but for some reason we're way up here, and then people in our schools are talking in their areas. And Superintendent Moore and I spoke a little bit today about the arts, and I know Ms. Scott will have something she might want to add on that. The fact that we have middle school programs, which we've had meetings with Dr. McFarland and staff, and a year ago maybe, about how we're going to strengthen our middle school art programs, even the basic three, like band, and those that our high schools are now feeling the pressure. The COVID, there's very little middle school bands that are being successful right now because COVID took the 6th and 7th graders out. And now when they come to high school, if you go to a game, if you go to athletic games, the bands are about a third the size they used to be. And I know some of our middle schools don't have bands. So my point in all this was I thought today we would have an opportunity to talk about the months of employment that schools are allotting, because I think that the principal gets to make the decision on what their allotments are. But I do think that we expect that all of them are going to have at least some fine art programs in their middle school. I felt like we could talk a little bit about that today. The other piece, and I'm going to then just say a disappointment, is that we don't have much in this budget for maintenance and operations. And you've heard me say that. I won't say any more about that. I know you talked about the multi-year plan. I've watched multi-year plans in Wake County, and we've extended years on them. We've cut budgets out of them. I'm very upset about that, the multi-year plans that we've put out there before. So I already have heard that if we don't get the 56 million or whatever we get, the first thing people are going to look at is we're going to take some maintenance and operation dollars back. And I'm for the compensation. I want all of that to stay in there. But I feel like we are taking our eye off this maintenance and operation problem that we have. And I don't know what to do with it. I won't be around to see the 5-year plan or 6 or 7, whatever it develops into, but we have put those things off a very long time. And I'm disappointed we couldn't talk about it in a work session today, but that's all I'm going to say. I know that, Ms. Scott, you may have something you might want to add about the arts. Whoever wants to add some things that they'd asked me early on that I thought we would have today.
And I think when it came to the month of employment piece, that was a separate piece, not necessarily for this budget, but something that we needed to talk about. And I know you and Superintendent Moore have talked about that today, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But I just want to acknowledge that, we've discussed that concern, and we'll continue to
we'll need to
push forward
discuss
on that.
And my problem is we've talked about the middle school art programs almost a year ago, and now I'm hearing we're having middle school art teachers losing positions because their band didn't hit the 45, it's 15 or something. So we're digging a deeper hole, I just think. But I'm going to let that go at that point.
I'll just make a quick comment that we have asked previously that all middle schools offer at least 3 different types of arts programming and look at the staff that's needed to support that. When we reviewed it in the last couple of weeks, as the questions have come up, I thought it was 6, but now maybe even less than 6 that don't meet that threshold. All of those schools do have access to targeted enrollment, and we asked the area SUPs to work with the principals today. We understand that certainly the COVID could have created some sort of an impact with regards to arts because of how participatory they are, and the experience that they had remotely was not the same, and some principals have talked about that. So we want to make sure that we are able to maintain the commitment of the 3 that are baseline for all schools. Some schools have offered far more than that in the past and have been able to, but as enrollments change, they may not want to continue to do something. We want to make sure that the baseline of 3 is kept whole for everyone and continue to be committed to doing that. There are some other things that I think we can do as well that probably do require a session in a student achievement committee or a finance committee meeting, may be better to have a better understanding of how the allotments are different in elementary and middle and high. And if there is a strategy, which we've been talking about, that can better support either protecting or defining what it is that the board wants to see with regards to program enhancement in middle and high.
Ms. Scott.
Thank you. And I do want to say that Ms. Cash and I did discuss this, and when the question is this a budget issue, I don't see how it isn't. If we're looking to protect programming at schools, I hear that we're saying at least 3 fine arts at middle schools. I hear these different things, and quite honestly, that allotment or that expectation is something that during my tenure on the board we have not ever discussed. So if that is something we have the opportunity to get more into that in terms of allotments, and that would I would certainly welcome, and I would appreciate that. But I feel like I've asked a question and just never got an answer. And I asked how many months of employment for program enhancement teachers were reduced due to lower than expected ADM. And this is a number answer. This is something that could be answered specifically. In my area, and yes, I absolutely and proudly represent all the Wake County, but I also have to speak for the people who expect me to speak, the people who elected me. But in my part of the county, there are market share is an issue. There is an oversaturation of charter schools, of schools of choice in eastern and in northeastern Wake, and it does impact us. So when we're looking at our schools to what sets them apart, people talk about program enhancement. They talk about a strong theater program. They talk about a strong choral program that not only goes out into the community, but brings the community in for concerts and plays and musical theater. So our middle schools also don't have a legacy. I mean, people talk about Broughton High School who haven't been there for years. I mean, they have a strong legacy. Elementary schools, people are there for 6 years, but middle schools are only there for 3 years. And once a program is gone, it's very hard to bring it back. And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here. I don't think anyone's at fault, but I do think there's a major miscommunication, or misunderstanding rather, where if we have principals who are feeling obligated to cut things because of certain enrollment numbers, or if there is in fact this months of employment available somewhere that they could ask, but only if they could do this thing. I mean, it makes it very difficult for me to understand. It makes it very difficult for parents to know who they should be advocating for when they're concerned. And these programs absolutely do trickle up to the high school. If we don't have a strong feeder program, we won't have those in our high schools. And I think we are all so very proud of our comprehensive high schools and that they offer a place for everyone. And we hear that when our students who are brave enough to come speak to us talk about the different places where they feel safe, the different places where they learn who they are. So it is a budget question, because while I support so much of this, absolutely compensation, absolutely the steps that we're taking to get back to multi-year plans, absolutely understand the necessity for many of the positions and understanding that our central office staff has been working on a skeleton crew as well. But I really, really need to be able to look into the eyes of people who are maybe going to have to be worrying about this each and every year, the first to be on the cutting block, knowing that those programs, and when students participate in those programs, the life skills that it builds them. So this is a very, very difficult place, and quite honestly, if I had just received a direct answer right away, I wouldn't have said all the things I have rambled on about for the last 5 minutes. So it's a huge concern for me.
So I'll just reiterate that first, there are no changes to allotment formulas. But it has been the practice for as long as we've provided resources to schools that there are formulas upon which those resources are predicated. And if enrollment drops, there are fewer resources. It's fewer counselors, fewer APs, fewer textbook dollars. Everything that's resource-based is done that way. However, We also know that sometimes changes in enrollment fluctuate from year to year based on different things that are happening in the community, and we have a process for principals to work with their area superintendents to cover needs on a short-term basis as we figure out what's happening with enrollment that might be fluctuating based on outside impacts like a charter school opening or a brand-new school opening, even within the Wake County Public School System. So those processes are there. All of that being said, I think that, what's become clear out of the conversation is that there's a desire from the board to better understand what the mechanisms are that can be implemented to both highlight and support designated sort of baseline and expectations around our schools with regards to our arts programming. We've set that expectation sort of in the background, and where we have found that it's not being met, we are providing schools with the opportunity to make the changes so that they do have at least 3 programs available. But I think once we get to that, I think there's the issue of how those resources are allotted and the fact that principals will make decisions based on what they're finding in their school communities on how to best use those resources to meet students' needs. That has always been where that lies. Redoubling our efforts to make sure that principals understand what their options are. And I think they are aware. We've been doing the targeted enrollment process for a number of years. So I don't think there's a lack of understanding of that. But I do think that understanding the expectations and what the baselines are that we want to have for all schools is something that might need to be more formalized through both how we talk about this at the board level and if we change the manner in which we communicate how resources are allocated, because there's an option to do that. Resources are allocated differently at the elementary level than they are at middle or high. And at the elementary level, there is a specific program enhancement allocation that is not the way they are allocated at middle and high school. So I think there's an opportunity for increased work around that moving forward, understanding, and for the board to weigh in on what those priorities need to look like. So.
And if I could add to what Superintendent Moore just shared, Ms. Scott, we've talked about possibly at either a Finance Committee meeting or a Student Achievement Committee meeting, giving some additional background about the allotment process that takes place in the spring, that is based upon student projections, the staffing planning process that school administrators do in the spring, and then hire in support of, and they work with the Human Resources Department in that. And then, as Ms. Moore said, the fluctuation up and down in student populations in individual schools has to be considered. All that's based upon estimates. And we don't know what actuals are until the students actually start arriving. And then there's a process in the fall that's called the reconciliation process. And throughout this continuum from spring through the fall, and really throughout the year, because populations can change during the year as well, there are safety nets and opportunities for school administration working with their area SUPs and budget ultimately in human resources to request resources to fill specific needs. And we have reserves of these resources because we know those sorts of things happen. Just one last point. As far as what final allotments and positions being earned are, we won't know those until the fall because they're based on actuals, not estimates. Finally, principals do have the opportunity as well in the spring to do something what we call self-allot. If they believe their student projections are lower than what they will actually be, they can request months of employment that were not earned so they can go ahead and staff up for those positions. And then assuming they have the students to come in that follow it, then that nets itself out. So it's a very complex set of structures and processes, and we have discussed and we'll bring back to one of the board's committee meetings some additional understanding around it.
Thank you, Mr. Nieder. I think we look forward to seeing more of that information. Certainly the loss of any program is impactful to any community, but I think over the years we have seen over and over again nationwide how budget impacts have impacted the arts, specifically wherever you are in this country. So we appreciate that. And Ms. Scott, thank you for your commitment to your arts community because hearing that from you as a music teacher and Ms. Scott and Ms. Cash, our conversations over the past, it's always hard to hear when a program is impacted, especially when something that can bring such joy to our communities, but making sure that we're understanding the impact of COVID on those communities as well, not just within the arts specifically, but others that may have been impacted as we move forward. I do have Mr. Haggerty with his hand up, so I'm going to acknowledge him.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey. I know it's difficult participating remotely like this, but I did just want to put in this piece on this budget. I think what it comes down to really is why this budget at this particular point in time. And, I think we can look at this budget based on our needs in the schools alone, but we can also look at this budget just in the context of our whole community and what's going on in our whole economy right now. If you look around, many of the same problems we're experiencing here are being experienced in the private sector, in other areas of government. Excuse me, we know we have critical vacancies that we have to fill. We've seen this in city government. We've seen this in county government, in the county budget. The county knows that they have to do more to fill critical vacancies for essential staff, for their EMS workers, for social service workers. And that, simply coming back with the budget that they've had isn't going to fill those crucial vacancies. And you'll remember what we've seen in the last, just in recent months, right? We've seen critical vacancies in our teaching staff, in our support staff, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers. And when we have those vacancies, it makes the job of everybody who's left, who's stuck with us, all that much harder. And that makes working conditions even worse. And so we have to do what we need to do to make sure that we can fully restaff with great professionals, and then that will help take care of the existing staff who's been with us. We have to remain competitive, and we're not just competing against other counties for teaching jobs anymore. We're competing with other jobs, with other sectors. We have people that are leaving teaching, leaving our workforce for completely different jobs. So we have to do everything we can with this compensation piece to keep adequately staffed, effective, functioning public schools if we're a community that believes in public education. And I know that's a challenge in this state. This is a state, North Carolina, that built its progress, that built its reputation on investment in public schools, community colleges, and universities. And we've seen over the last 10 years, even a little bit longer than that, how we haven't been getting the adequate state funding for our public schools. I think adjusted for inflation, I think we're spending less now on each of our college seniors than we were spending on them when they were kindergarten students. We're moving, the state has been moving in the wrong direction. And if we're going to be competitive in our hiring, if we're going to be competitive as a community in a region and building jobs here and attracting growth, we have to invest more in our schools and our students, right? We invest less per student than all of the areas that our business leaders are going out and trying to compete with and recruit companies from. We spend less than Austin, Texas, less than Dallas, Texas, less than Nashville, Memphis, Fairfax, Virginia, the major metro areas in Georgia. This is an investment, not just in our schools, not just in our kids, but even if you don't have kids, this is an investment in our whole community. And I think if we put it out there to the people, we have to ask the community, the citizenry of Wake County, do you support great schools? And if you do, are you willing to make the investment we need to keep them great? And again, we've heard from hundreds of teachers, hundreds of staff members about how much we need this compensation plan. I don't think we can back off our ask at all. A lot of work went into putting this budget together. Like Ms. Cash has said, there are things that we've put off, multi-year needs, right, that are crucial needs. We're not asking for the sky. We're not asking for the moon. You know, we're presenting what is needed to keep going. I think it's a responsible ask, and I support the budget as it's been presented.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hagerty. Ms. Johnson-Hostler, did you have anything?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. And I'm not sure where to add after Mr. Haggerty, who you are not present, but very much so delivered a very great closing argument to why this budget is important. So not a lot I would reiterate to that. Only more of a comment to us, the board, and our process, fully supporting the budget, and of course, as I said, echoing everything Mr. Haggerty noted around our workforce development. Again, lots of things we also heard on our visit to Salt Lake from our colleagues here in Wake County. What are you going to do? As I said to my colleagues, what are we going to do about teaching profession? And now we're losing principals, which not our retirees, hopefully, but those who are leaving us for better paying jobs. And the thing that I said to them is pay is at the top of the list, and there are ways you can do that, like advocating with your county commissioners. But the other piece is many of those business owners have children in our schools, and that is to be a part of changing the conditions of our school environment, which includes respecting and valuing them by our words, deeds, and our money. And so hopefully we will see the fruits of our labor with our colleagues in other industries in Wake County, really seeing Wake County for the economic engine we are, but also to ensure that this is the best place to also raise your children when you come here to work and play, which speaks to our public school infrastructure. So again, thank you to the staff for the enormous amount of work. I'm still not sure how Ms. Kinsey, Mr. Strickland, and Mr. Nieder keeps all this in your head, but thank you very much. Sorry, yes, Mr. Winters, the other Mark, and I could see both of them literally. Sorry about that, Mr. Winters, but I'm not sure how you all hold that in your head, especially for the number of years that you've maintained this. So again, thank you, and also thank you for enduring the questions and the ongoing questions. Because we also have to think about two things. One, the questions that are at the table and what it means. And part of that isn't for me, which it's always great Superintendent Morris like me. She's like, well, let me add a point here so that we don't lose the point. And part of what I hear is, you've given us a lot of information. When you said the 3 courses, I was like, oh, we talked about this when the state tried to cut ADM for arts. And so now it resonates that you have said that to us at this table before, but not in the context of a budget. And so, unfortunately, I'm not like our 3 amazing finance staff that I can't speak for my other colleagues, but I'm not holding that information in my head. And so sometimes it is going to require staff to reiterate. You can even say, per my last conversation that I told you, Ms. Johnson-Hostler, in 2018, I'm fine with the per my last email, but to help us remember and hold these things in our head when our hearts are being tugged at the potential of not having the full budget ask that we've made, which, to be clear, we are still advocating for our full budget ask. And the harder part of this, which is going to be even more important to remind us of the things that we are doing, we are solution-oriented, whether it's our arts, our athletics, our buildings and maintenance, our mental health. This district, I will put up against any. It has been hard, and we have pushed staff, but there is not one person in this district that I doubt believe in the solutions that make our district better. I wholeheartedly, we might not agree with how we get there. We might not agree with the timing of when we do it, because, we'd like for things to happen a little faster, but the commitment is there. And I think part of that is being the echo chamber and saying to us over and over again, here's what we're doing for these things, so that as board members, we can not rest easy because there's still a whole lot to do, but at least rest in that we're being heard around the priorities that our communities are screaming at us about. So yes, it's a lot of undue work, Superintendent Moore, on you and your team, but it certainly also makes us better advocates in the community, especially at a time that not everyone believes that our full commitment to our students in Wake County. And I think that's going to be even more important if we are not successful in our full ask, to make sure that we are putting those things first and forefront in our parents' line of sight so that they can see the things that we are maintaining, even in spite of the difficulties that are ahead of us.
Ms. Cash?
I'm not sure whether I wanted to do a clarification, but it's not near as great as the last two comments, so I'm sorry this will be not as dramatic. I just want to clarify I didn't mean that. There's another word. I can't think of it. I'm from Iowa. But I always say that. I want to clarify, though, the position I'm talking about, just to be certain we understand. I'm not saying we have, I'm just going to draw the picture. We have an art teacher, we have a band teacher in East Wake, and she's getting paid enough. She wants to stay with us as a band teacher, but she's got 15 eighth graders. Because we didn't have band for 6th and 7th graders, we asked the teacher, we tell the teacher we don't have a position for her. She goes to another school. That is not a teacher we've been trying to recruit. That's a teacher we let go of in the art field. And I'm talking about band because I'm trying to stay with the three main arts, because I'm not trying to get extra arts for extra schools. I'm trying to stay with the basics. So it's not a position that we couldn't fund or that we couldn't have enough money to hire that teacher. We lost the teacher because we gave up the position. So now the 15 eighth graders don't go to band because they don't have a teacher anymore, and they certainly don't go to band in high school. That is just, I know that's just a little itty-bitty thing of this whole budget, but it's still a part of the base budget that we don't always see that is concerning to me.
I think part of it also just shows this whole, I'm going to defer to Mr. Nieder before I talk.
Well, just Ms. Cash, a couple points to that. Again, your example is a very specific example where that school administrator has the opportunity to work with their area superintendent, HR, and budget to look at this set aside of resources to meet that very need you described. We do have systems and structures and processes for those types of situations. And just one other thought, when we might need to displace a teacher, we have a contractual obligation with our teachers, with the exception of terminating contract teachers. We're obligated to employ them, not necessarily any one particular school, but we will find them a job in their field within the Wake County public school system, because we do want to retain our employees. So I just want to point those two things out.
I want to, I'm just looking around. Ms. Kushner.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, I think this is indicates a need for us to, in the Finance Committee, not to have it year-round, once a month, so that we can continue to revisit and better understand, because this is only one step in this budget. This is our ask to the county. We don't know what the state's going to do. I have folks asking me about the COVID coordinators as one example. That I think that's a state position. So we're going to have to wait for the state budget to come out to find out about those positions. Is that what?
So I'll just take the opportunity to answer a question where I can. The positions that each school received or that they were able to hire for, and I think a lot of them have hired for, that was related to districts that opted into some form of the state testing program, received funds that could be used to hire staff to support that.
Really?
We just had an update on that in a webinar today. I've sent that to Paul Coe. The state is continuing to fund the testing program, but there are more options within that testing program as we move forward into the next school year. So there will still be opportunities, but that work is still before us.
Well, and so much of the state budget is still before us, so we're going to have to keep going. And I think to some of the discussion, if we can keep giving us updates on how things, things are shaken out.
That funding was set to expire at the end of this fiscal year. That said, what Ms. Moore just referred to, late-breaking news, it is our understanding that will be extended a year as long as districts maintain some type of testing program. We're still working through the details, and we have a significant multi-million-dollar carryover that we could then use.
I think this conversation and talking not just about the broader ask, but the specific impacts is really important, and it shows how much of this is kind of left on our local ask to support what is constitutionally required by the state, and that has been adjudicated since I was in elementary school, to have a sound basic education. I have a kid in middle school and I have a kid in elementary school, or 2 kids in elementary school. That's how long it's been. We have people in this county who were a part of that initial lawsuit who have children in this district and other districts across North Carolina. We heard that 15% of what we're doing is that charter school pass-through with local dollars and putting more on the employers for state health programs. And we have different mandates where we are looking at the county in order to help fund those mandates. Dr. Martin talked about the teacher supplement that our county commissioners are so proud to give, that now other counties throughout the state are getting it from the state. And it's not a salary. All teachers need a salary and salary increases. It's their supplement. And so now we're competing not just with other states, with other parts of the economy, but other counties for our teachers, when that has been a part of a point of pride for our county and for our county commissioners. And, I spent time with our former budgets over the last, 5 years and looking at CAFRs, and I'm sure many of you have, but our multi-year funding plan went into place in 2019, and then we immediately pulled back because of the economic uncertainties of COVID. And so to see and hear things like we have a full economy and making sure that we have these supports for this economy to thrive involves investing in our students and the people that serve our students. And so seeing so much of this go to additional compensation, as well as asking for that recommitment to those multi-year funding plans that we've held back on, I think is really, really important, because there is a shared goal to have good schools in this district, because it not only benefits our children, which is first and foremost, but it benefits the people who live here, who choose to stay here to raise their families, and people like me who move here to raise their families. And so I think, for me, it is a budget that starts to redo that work, but it is imperfect because there's only so much we can ask for, and we have to be fiscally responsible in that ask of our local government, because we know that the state and really, the federal government with IDEA needs to be fully funded. So I'm going to be supporting this budget with the knowledge that there's more that we can do. But if we had those state supports, we wouldn't be arguing over arts enhancement positions, because we might be able to use that local supplement to make our schools not just survive, but thrive. And that, I think, is our goal. Any further comments, questions for Mr. Nieder or the superintendent? Okay, with that, I will we have a motion and a second to take the superintendent's proposed budget and adopt it as the board's budget. All in favor, please signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have policy. Our first policy is Board Policy 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability. This is first reading, and presenting will be Mr. Drew Cook, our Assistant Superintendent of Academics. Mr. Cook.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present to you the first reading of revised Board Policy 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability. Revisions reflect updates made by district staff and the North Carolina School Boards Association. The revised policy incorporates guidance on literacy interventions in alignment with Senate Bill 387, also known as the Excellent Public Schools Act of 2021, and also provides information on credit recovery practices for high school courses, as is now required by State Board of Education policy. With board approval, this revision will replace and update the current version of this policy. The revised policy was discussed and reviewed at the April 20th, 2022 Policy Committee meeting. So tonight we're requesting the board's approval of the first reading of revised policy 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability. Happy to provide any additional information.
Ms. Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Cook and Chair Mahaffey. With that, I would move approval of the policy revisions to 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability. For approval for first reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, please signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
Moving on to Board Policy 7503, teleworking first reading. We have Dr. A.J. Matillo, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Chairman Mahaffey, Superintendent Moore, members of the board, I'm here to present to you the first reading of revised policy 7503 for teleworking. The updates begin to move our telework policy from a response to an emergency situation to a policy that will guide us to situations that won't only be governed by or allowable under emergency situations. So while planning teams continue to work on additional proposed revisions, we felt it was important to bring this one specific revision that will allow school staff, with the permission of their principal, to telework on unprotected teacher work days, providing their job responsibilities can be performed remotely on these days. Your consideration of this proposed change tonight will allow schools to better plan their work days for next year. When given final board approval, it will replace the current version of the policy. It was reviewed at the April 20th, 2022 Policy Committee meeting, and tonight we request the board's approval of the first reading of revised policy 7503 for teleworking.
All right, thank you, Dr. Matillo. Ms. Kushner.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey, and Dr. Matillo got a great overview just for us to give more options for our school and our staff members. So I move approval of board policy revisions to Board Policy 7503, teleworking, on first reading.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Carter?
Okay. I know I've said it before, but I just want to reiterate it again. I think this, I'm very happy to see this come to us. I appreciate this added flexibility for our staff, and it doesn't cost us anything as a district to give staff the respect I think they deserve, to be able to understand they can do their work from home. And I know there's some situations they cannot, but if they have work that they are able to carry out in their home environment, it gives them flexibility for many reasons that they might need to use it. So I appreciate that, and I just caution and hope, I know we mentioned it before, ask for striving for consistency somewhat from school to school, because I do not want that to become, well, my school has this, my school will only have this, and I know we're not going to say, you have to have X, Y, and Z, but as much consistency as possible so that all of our staff, district-wide, feel this added, what I see as an added bonus. So I thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right. The motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Matillo.
Thank you all.
At this point, we will entertain a motion to enter closed session.
Chairman Mahaffey, closed session to consider the confidential personnel information protected under GS 143-318.11, A1, A3, and A6, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in GS 143-318.11A3. Due to current litigation, Wake County Board of Education v. Town of Apex, 21 CVS 009144. To consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in GS 143-318.11A3.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson-Hustler, for that motion. Is there a second? Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. Would all in favor please signify with a sign of aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, we are now in closed session. Thank you, everyone.